Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad, back with you. It is Toad Stool Sports. I don't even know what day it is, man, as usual. This is the college basketball edition for Saturday. College basketball, man, it just took me like an hour and a half to get through this entire board, which I guess is not that bad, although I'm being super selective, and I'm only giving out 3 plays here, and hopefully we're going to hit. That's what there is to it. I'm going to talk about it. This is going to be hopefully not that long, but it's going to make my job in the morning a lot easier, because in the morning I just have to focus on whatever other sports are going on, which does include the NFL, by the way. So, yeah, I mean, I guess let's get into it. Man, late nights, man. I might need more caffeine. Dirty Sock, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Zach, what's up? Yep, I have no idea. Yep, Michigan State, it was kind of all over the place, man. It was 2.5, it was 2, it was 1.5, it was back to 2. It was, I think it closed at some places at still 2, 2.5. They probably should have won the game, even though Nebraska did have the bigger lead in the game multiple times. I think the biggest lead was 6, and Nebraska had that lead a couple of times, but Michigan State had a 3-point lead with a few minutes to go, and I'm thinking, well, this is a really low-scoring game, and that's what I wanted. That's the style that Michigan State wanted, and that's what you want when you're playing the better defense as an underdog. I'm like, all right, they're just going to put this game away. Not quite. The market also disagreed with me on that game. Maybe I should not have given it out. Maybe I should have skipped the day entirely, but I had it at 2.5, so I only had a loser on like the money line sprinkle part of it. Let's get into it, man. If you want me to talk about any of these other games, I will. I mean, this is Saturday, so there's a ton of games. Obviously, I'm going to focus on the big conference games because conference play is starting. We're going to have some huge games here. I'll talk about some of the other interesting ones in some of the smaller conferences, but for the most part, I don't think there's really that much that's interesting. I mean, I'll talk about it, but again, like when people ask me to talk about a game and I don't have a real opinion on it, I'm like, I don't really want to give out an opinion on it, really. I mean, I guess if you want me to, I guess I have to, but it's like, you know, I'm pretty much saying don't bet that game, though. So, whatever. We do have an 11 a.m. game up in the ACC. This is going to be pretty heavily focused on the ACC, by the way. I have 3 plays, and 2 of them are ACC, and this one almost makes my card. Like, if I was going to add another one, it would be this 11 a.m. game here. I actually like this one as well. On ESPN2, this is number 21, Virginia at NC State. Now, this is one of those games where I feel like I talked about it like ad nauseum last year. I talk about it in college basketball as well. The odds makers, they know more than the rankings makers. So the odds makers, they have the money at stake. The rankings makers are just going based on what they saw. They don't care. Odds makers, yes, they're trying to split the action, but the odds makers have all this money at stake, so they're more in tune with how good each team actually is than the rankings makers. And when you look at this line, looks a little bit odd that NC State is a 4.5-point favorite here, up from 3.5. So it looks like there is money coming in on NC State here. It looks weird. Like, why is the unranked team favored, right? Well, the odds makers are actually telling you NC State, like, they're really close in power rankings to Virginia. And that's what there is to it. NC State kind of under the radar right now. They were in the rankings for a bit earlier in the season, and they fell out of the rankings. And now it's Virginia that just kind of looks like the better team right now. Ken Baum, where does Ken Baum have them at? Oops, I think I just gave away what one of my plays is going to be. Buy Ken Baum, by the way. I don't want to show all of his projections and stuff, but yeah, it's like $30 a year, whatever. Yeah, so Ken Baum actually has NC State ranked 3 ranking spots higher than Virginia as well. He has NC State as the better defense, interestingly, although I like the better defense getting points, but this is the better defense laying points in this case. He's got NC State extremely unlucky at 313th in the country, so he's telling you they've underperformed quite a bit. They've actually faced a difficult schedule, 41st, so a lot of things that kind of make me like NC State here, man. And the public is not going to be on them. The public is going to see, the ranked team, Virginia, getting points. Looks really, really easy to take Virginia here. A team with the better record as well. The team that just has the better, I don't know if I want to say the better history, but yeah, I mean, kind of. And better kind of, I don't want to, not necessarily recent history, but over the last decade or so, Virginia's definitely been the better program. Charles, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. Virginia, I don't think they're in a very good spot either. So Virginia, the public is probably going to think they're going to bounce back. Oh, they just got upset by Virginia Tech. They're winning all these games. They're going to bounce back. But I think they're in a situation where they could potentially lose the same game twice, for lack of a better term, even though, yes, they were a favorite. I think probably about a 5.5 point favorite at Virginia Tech. I said that I leaned to Virginia Tech in that game. I thought the game meant more to them. Now, Virginia, that busted up a win streak of theirs, and they have not lost since, I don't know. They only had one other loss this season to Butler, which was a while ago. It was probably back in November or whatever. So Virginia's not lost for a while. And when you have a win streak like that and you lose the win streak, a lot of times it will hang you over into the next game. This Virginia Tech game also went to triple overtime, so that can really take a lot out of you, man. So Virginia's going to have to overcome all of that in this game and play a second straight road game as well. Seems a little bit difficult to me. And this game was on New Year's Eve, by the way, so it was not that long ago. Yeah, I just think it is a bad spot for them. And NC State, they're going to be up for this game. They get to host Virginia. NC State, they did just have a pretty big win over Wake, though. Although I think Wake considers themselves to be the little brother in the state of North Carolina. That is still kind of a North Carolina rivalry. But I don't think NC State's really going to be in a letdown mode when they get to host a ranked Virginia team here. So that's really kind of the only thing that I'm a little bit worried about, is that they had a good game against Wake in the last game. But I would lay the points with NC State. This is almost on my card. And as I talk about, as I was alluding to already, when you have a team that is an unranked team that's favored over a ranked team, that should always be on your short list as far as bets that you might want to make, because the odds makers are differing in opinion from the rankings makers, and the public likes to go with what the rankings makers are saying, and they're kind of in line with all of that because it's all this team looks better than this team, whatever, and they always just kind of align that way. But if the odds makers are telling you something else and it looks really fishy, yeah, you got to pay attention to that. So those are my thoughts on that game. I actually like that one a lot. If I was going to add one more play, like I said, it would be NC State minus the points. I mean, I'd maybe like to get a little bit of a better number than 4.5. I don't know if you will, though, because I think the real money is coming in on NC State. But when the public comes in tomorrow, maybe they will speak, and maybe they will want some early action here if they're awake. Out in Vegas, they probably won't even be awake yet. SEC matchup here, we have Kentucky and Alabama. Alabama's ranked 14th in the country. But if you look at the line on this line kind of looks short. It looks pretty easy to lay the points with Alabama when they're laying 5.5 and you're expecting this is going to be a high-scoring game. Totals in the mid-170s. I mean, we're expecting to have some fast-paced action in this game, especially from Alabama. They play ridiculously fast. Kentucky actually doesn't really play as fast this year as they did last year for some reason. But, I mean, I still could see this game being very, very fast-paced and pretty high scoring. So I think an over is in consideration for this game. I also probably lean to Kentucky plus the points as far as the side. I just think they're kind of under the radar right now. I mean, they got 4 losses, but their losses are to Louisville, Michigan State, North Carolina by 3. They did get absolutely obliterated by Gonzaga, but I mean, those are all like legit teams, man. But yes, it does mean that maybe Kentucky hasn't quite stepped up that well in class, although they beat Indiana and St. John's more recently, so they're on the right track. I mean, those are pretty decent wins. They're coming off a game where I think they were in a sandwich spot, and I almost gave that out as a play on Bellarmine. Bellarmine is also in Louisville, Kentucky, I think, so they're an in-state little brother, so I think they got up for that game. So you can kind of just explain why Kentucky wasn't that good in that game. They came off those 2 big games against Indiana, St. John's, had Alabama up next. I think they just went through the motions, just totally overlooked Bellarmine here. I do think Kentucky might be dealing with some injuries as well, so maybe that's something to keep in mind. And one other thing I am a little bit worried about is this is going to be their first true road game outside of the state of Kentucky. Their only other true road game was the loss at Louisville, so that is a little bit of a concern if you do like Kentucky here. But I do think Alabama's a little bit overrated based on what they did the last couple of years. They're not quite as good this year. Ken Bum has them 17th, so the rankings aren't that far off on them, but he does have Kentucky as the 20th ranked team. So Kentucky maybe a little bit under the radar right now as far as the fact that they're not ranked by the AP or whatever. Kentucky is also the way better defense, believe it or not. Kentucky playing a little bit slower than they did last year, this year. And Alabama, where they play at a ridiculous pace, 10th in tempo, but they're only 73rd in defense, which is not great, and they're 2nd in offensive efficiency. So Alabama's a very imbalanced team. Like, they're definitely the type of team that I do kind of look to fade. Like, I don't like teams that don't play defense and teams that exhaust themselves with fast pace, especially when it comes tournament time. It's not a good thing. In a single game, sometimes, yeah, it will, like, throw off a team that wants to play slow. But in this case, I mean, you are getting Kentucky as the way better defense getting points. So I would probably look that way, even though taking Kentucky plus the points is probably not correlated to the total going over. And I actually think the over makes sense in that game as well. So that's all that information about that one. VCU and Duquesne. There are some interesting games in the A-10, man. This A-10 conference, it's going to be fun to watch this conference play out and watch this conference tournament, I think. Now, VCU, they're one of the best 2 teams in this conference right now. I think it's between VCU and St. Louis. One of those 2 teams, I think, should win the conference, and if they don't, I think they might both wind up having at-large what's the word I'm looking for? At-large arguments to get into the tournament as an at-large bid. So A-10 might wind up being a multi-bid league this year. VCU's coming off that win over St. Bonaventure. I was not correct about them covering. They won and did not cover. Now, one thing I forgot to consider in that game, though, is that I believe VCU knocked St. Bonaventure out of the A-10 tournament last year. So maybe St. Bonaventure showed up a little bit more for that, but even if you consider that, I mean, I was still going by, when I handicapped that, I was still saying, well, St. Bonaventure is obviously not going to overlook VCU. So that was still basically part of the handicap anyway. Like, I'm trying to incorporate the conference tournaments from last year a little bit more in the smaller conferences in my handicapping here, but I just didn't really see any great angles anyway that I would, it didn't lead me to see any additional angles today, let's just say. And the play that I had on Montana State last night, I already loved that play, but it made it like even better when I looked at what happened in the conference tournaments last year, as far as revenge, like some types of revenge that matter. The revenge that matters is this team is the team that knocked you out last year. That's like one of the types of revenge that does matter. But anyway, VCU, they beat St. Bonaventure. That was a nice win. Now they have to go on the road to face Duquesne. They've only played one other game on the road, and they played fine. They lost by 6 to NC State. That's not bad. But they do have to go on the road, and yeah, guess who they have next? As I already, the team that I just mentioned a little while ago, St. Louis, is who VCU has next. So really early in conference play, they're going to get a huge game against what might be the best team in the conference, St. Louis. So they could be looking ahead to that, man. It's just that Duquesne's been playing pretty well as well, so I don't know if VCU is going to totally overlook Duquesne. But the other problem I have with Duquesne here, looking towards Duquesne, is that they just pulled off a pretty nice upset at Davidson. So they are coming off an upset win. And I don't love playing on teams when they're coming off an upset win. Although it was a little bit milder of an upset, I guess. And you know they're not going to overlook VCU. So I would lean to Duquesne in this game if I was going to play it. VCU has already dropped from a 7-point favorite to a 6-point favorite. Although VCU is now a fast-paced team again. So this is expected to be somewhat faster paced with a total in the 160s, which I don't love when I'm looking to take points or whatever, but I'm going to zoom in on Ken Palm a little bit, which I usually do not. Duquesne actually plays quite fast this year as well, so it's expected to be a fast-paced game. So that's why the total is as high as it is, and it makes me like taking the points a little bit less, but that's that game. Those are my thoughts on it. Big East play continues with Villanova at Butler. Pretty interesting game at noon. All these games except for the Virginia one that I've talked about so far at noon. This one's on TNT. USA Network has that A10 game I just talked about, by the way, and ESPN has the Kentucky-Alabama game because that's one of the bigger games, so ESPN gets that game, of course. And USA Network has like a contract with the Atlantic 10 for whatever reason. Weird to call that conference the Atlantic 10 at this point, though, when you have teams like St. Louis in it. But yes, Villanova at Butler is an interesting game, and I think we have a short line in this game, too. Like, I think it's basically like a pick'em line. It's a contrast of styles here because Butler likes to play fast and Villanova likes to play slow. And it is easier to slow down the game, and it's easier for the better team, which I do still think is Villanova here, to control the pace. But a lot of times the home team has an easier time controlling the pace as well. So you have to kind of, in this game, try to figure out which team you think is going to be able to control the pace here. Butler has actually flipped from a 1-point dog to a 1-point favorite here. And how Villanova's played recently, I think the public might wind up siding with Villanova in this one, even though they usually don't like these like slower pace, ugly teams. But Villanova's been efficient offensively this year. So they're one of these slow paced teams, kind of like Purdue, like a slow paced team that actually shoots efficiently. So that's what Villanova is. Although Villanova is actually balanced, so my mistake. Villanova actually is top 40 in both offense and defense. So, and they're bottom 10 in tempo. They play crazy, crazy slow. Although Ken Bum does have them as a little bit of a lucky team at 85th in the luck index. He's got Butler 227th in luck. So Butler underperforming a little bit according to him, although he only has them at 48th in his rankings. Villanova at 26th. So yes, Villanova's the better team. When I first looked at this, I was thinking, well, Villanova's probably going to be public, so it probably makes sense to maybe lean towards Butler here. Even though usually I like the better defense, which I believe is Villanova in this game. Let me make sure of that. Yes, it is. So Villanova is the better defense here. Villanova's coming off barely getting by DePaul as well, though. So, like, my first instinct before I looked at the situation was, I'm probably going to lean to Butler in this game because I think it's going to be like the public's going to side with Villanova after they've won 4 games in a row. But the fact that Villanova barely got by DePaul at home, I think they might have been looking ahead to this game maybe. So I think Villanova might actually show up better in this game because they're off of like a scare against a bad team. So they might actually show up for this game, whereas Butler actually just had a close loss in Omaha. They had to go to Creighton. So I actually think the spot is actually worse for Butler, believe it or not, because they were probably an underdog. I think they were at Creighton, and they played pretty well, lost by 4. So, take all of that into consideration. I actually probably horseshoe the whole way, and I probably actually lean to Villanova in this game, as I think they're the team in the slightly better spot, and they have the better defense. So slight lean to Villanova for me. Mr. Pinsey, what's up? Yeah, sorry to make you sweat. Everybody dance now. That's actually the title of that song. Gonna Make You Sweat is the title of that. I should use that as like a drop or something. But yes, Michigan State, the the market wound up disagreeing with me on that. I got a little bit concerned about it, but it was a low scoring, like pretty close game the whole way. So, hopefully you got the 2.5 and Michigan State came in for you, or at least the 2, so it pushed. The line was moving up and down between 1.5 and 2.5 all day, so I think it was still like 2.5 when the game went off, though. It's one of those situations where you got to have a lot of books at your arsenal, you know what I mean? Like, just make sure that you get the best number that's out there. It's one of those times where it kind of mattered. Big East, also we have Providence and St. John's on Fox at noon. St. John's is a huge favorite in this game, and I might lean towards St. John's here as well. Providence, I mean, they got kind of the name recognition here, and St. John's hasn't looked that good this year, but I think they're way better than Providence. I don't think Providence is very good at all. Providence is coming off another loss. They lost to Seton Hall. Kind of a tough game. Seton Hall will try to slow you down. Providence likes to play fast. Now Providence is going to St. John's here. I assume this is probably a Madison Square Garden game. It is, which is like St. John's alternate home arena, basically. They played some of their big TV games there. St. John's is coming off an easier win where they went to Georgetown. Georgetown, they're doing the same thing they did last year, man, where they looked good out of conference, but Georgetown just doesn't look like they're playing well this way. Speaking of Providence, by the way, because former Providence coach Ed Cooley, I'm pretty sure, is still the coach at Georgetown, and things are not going that great for Georgetown, but St. John's was able to get that win. Now, St. John's, they haven't looked great against some of the best opponents that they've faced this year, but Providence is not a great opponent. St. John's should be able to take care of them, and the fact that the spot I actually think might even be slightly worse for Providence here, and I actually think that St. John's is slightly under the radar here, and this is going to be a fast-tempo game. Both teams like to go fast, even though St. John's is not exactly an offensive juggernaut. Usually they go fast and they try to, like, wreak havoc and turn you over and play defense. You know what I mean? That's St. John's thing, but I would have to lean towards laying the points with them. The total is high at 170. St. John's is just significantly better than Providence, even though the records don't really make it look that way right now. Ken Bum probably has St. John's in the top 25. He does, so he has them 19th, and he has Providence way, like, below that. He has Providence 78th, so I mean, there is definitely a disparity here between these two teams. I think laying it makes sense, especially when it's going to be fast-paced and you have a high total here. So St. John's would be the lean there. You got the 2.5, hell yeah. 1.5, you need more books available, man. Like 2 is like kind of a key number in basketball because it is a bucket. 100% boost for the NBA. Did the Hawks cover? I don't even know. I didn't pay attention to it at all. Notre Dame just covered. Who are they? They're playing on the West Coast. I don't even know. I think I did lean that way, right? Because they were coming off that ridiculously ugly game in the previous game. I don't remember. All right. Next game up is one of my plays. Let's just do it. The Hawks covered. All right, nice. I wish I added it to my card, man. I don't know. Maybe I might be being too selective, but I'm trying to practice selectivity here. And a lot of times once college basketball gets going, I'm going to have like 8-9 plays, on a Saturday. But this Saturday I only have 3, which is very, very selective because we have probably 100 games tomorrow. So that's a lot of selectivity. So I better get these right. Jeffrey Oh, you think he was bad? What? No way, man. All right. Best bets. We have the first one up right now, which is going to be unfortunate for the people who want to try to find the best bets. Go back and listen to the show because I don't do it. Unless, do you want me to skip it and do it at the end of the show because we're doing all college basketball here? Do you want to wait that long for my best bets like I would do with the football? It's up to you guys. Whatever. Whoever answers me first is what I'll do. Do you want me to do best bets chronologically as I go and have them mixed in here, or do you want me to do all of them at the end? They're only going to be 3. And I already told you that I like NC State quite a bit. NC State is a bubble boy. His net streak ended. I don't know if I agreed with that or not. The Nets, I don't even remember. It was not one of my strong opinions at all, though. But You can't make money by forcing yourself to bet on a single team's game every single time. Like you're going to lose money when you're trying to force it. Mix it in. All right, that was the first actual answer. All right, fine, but there's not going to be as much suspense. Although, because we just talked about St. John's before we go away from them.
Yeah, inside, I want to kill myself.
All right. I like how I've only talked about like 3 games and we're already 30 minutes in. All right, best bets. I already threw up the graphic anyway, so why not? All right, first one up, we're going to lay the points with Wake Forest. And I know this line is moving. I mean, you guys probably could have figured this out already, especially because I already just talked about the Virginia Tech-Virginia game, which is most of the basis for this play. Wake Forest opened 3. 3 would have been a lot better. You might be able to get about a 5 here. I mean, I think the public might come in against Wake Forest here, so we'll see. I think we might get an anti-public favorite here with Wake Forest. This is on the ACC network at noon if people actually want to watch this game. I mean, one thing you're going to see when you look at this is another situation where you have a team with the worst record laying a bunch of points, and everybody saw what Virginia Tech just did to Virginia, so the public, I think, is definitely going to be on Virginia Tech here. Oh, my God, a 2-loss team getting 5.5 points that just beat Virginia. It looks so easy. If they can beat Virginia, of course they can cover as an underdog against Wake Forest, right? Well, I'm going to tell you, no, that is not the way to look at this game. Virginia Tech, by the way, they have not stepped up particularly well in class. The one, except for Virginia, of course, and the one other time they did okay was the road game against South Carolina. Yes, they pulled off an upset there. It was a fine upset. But other than that, I mean, they did lose to VCU. They lost to St. Mary's. I don't know. I just don't see Virginia Tech as being that trustworthy, especially in this spot. And this is only their second true road game of the year. And I know the first one, they did get that win, like I said, at South Carolina. But how do they get back up off the mat after this, man? Like, they got to be celebrating big time. They just beat Virginia, their main rival here. Virginia's always the big brother in the state of Virginia. So the game just means more to Virginia Tech. And when they get an upset like that, they get a win over Virginia, especially on their home floor, they're going to be partying, man. I don't know. Did the crowd rush the court? I don't know. Can we see? Let me see if we can see right here. You're not going to get the audio, though, I don't think, but because I'm in Firefox on here. But let me see. Oh, no court storming? Come on, man. Dude, I hate when there's no court storming. The trend going against court storming is ridiculous. But anyway, that was a triple overtime game on New Year's Eve, man. I mean, that had to have taken a ton out of Virginia Tech. Not only beating their primary rival, but beating them as an unranked team against a ranked team, beating them as the little brother, and having to go to triple overtime to do it. That has to, completely gas you, man. So I just don't see them having a great effort here at Wake, man. Wake coming into this game, yeah, Wake just had a rivalry game themselves where they were a little brother to NC State, but they lost the game by 13 points, man. They didn't have a great game in that one. They're coming home here, and this is going to be their first ACC home game of the season, so I think they're going to get up for it, man. I think the crowd's going to show up for it. Virginia Tech's been looking pretty good, so I think Wake is they're going to be ready for it, man. And Wake, they've actually looked really good in some of these games against good opponents. They lost by 1 to Michigan, and we see how good Michigan is right now. And they also lost by 1 to Texas Tech. So this Wake team, they played well against some serious competition, man. And those teams are definitely better than Virginia Tech. And yes, I know Wake lost to NC State. They lost to Vandy really badly, but both those teams are better than Virginia Tech. And yes, Wake also has a loss in there against Oklahoma, kind of a weird loss mixed in there. Oklahoma's not great, but neither is Virginia Tech. Wake's actually the better team. We're going to go with Wake in this one. Although Ken Baum actually has Wake barely the better team. He has them 61-62. He has Wake as the somewhat faster team, although there's not really a huge tempo difference here. He has Virginia Tech extremely lucky, though, 20th in his luck index. So he's telling you they're overperforming. They could be the type of team that you do want to fade. And then Wake Forest does have the somewhat better defense. They're more of a defense-oriented team, although I know that's better when you're taking points instead of laying them. But we're going to lay it here, and he does have Wake as having faced the more difficult schedule, which I just showed you. I mean, and they actually did pretty well against that schedule. So Wake is the first play. We're catching Virginia Tech in a horrible spot as well. So, I mean, which is really the main part of the handicap. The Bubble Boy, I don't have a drop for the Bubble Boy, though. I don't know. I don't think Wake cares about their football team winning the Mayo Bowl, to be honest. And I'm still pissed about that. The only pick in the bowls that I got wrong today. I am kind of pissed about it. But whatever. I mean, my bowl pick'ems don't really have much money on them, so I don't know. But I want to be right at all times. I don't know what you're talking about. Morgana, what the fuck are you talking about? All right. We got I mean, if you want me to talk about any games that I'm skipping, I will. Some of these games I just don't find that interesting, so I am skipping some of them. I'm going to try to talk about the interesting ones, the ranked matchups, whatever. I mean, Clemson is facing Pitt, if you want me to talk about it. CW Network. We're not even out of the noon slate yet, man. We're half hour in. Man, fucking college basketball. Clemson, I mean, we know Clemson's been good the last couple of years. I think they're a little bit down this year, though, and they just barely got by Syracuse and Cincinnati, for that matter. So they didn't play that well in those games, but I think maybe Clemson will come out with some more focus here after kind of an ugly game at Syracuse. They might show up a little bit better for this game against Pitt, although they have SMU on deck, and SMU has been pretty good to start the season, so Clemson might be looking ahead a little bit to that. It does, in a way, look too easy to lay the points with Clemson, only laying 3.5 as an 11-3 team against a 7-7 Pitt team. Pitt, they're coming off having to go to Miami. Miami looks like they're kind of on the upswing right now. Pitt lost that game only by 7, though, so Pitt actually did play pretty well in this game, and they actually almost pulled off an upset in this game. So I don't really want Pitt in this game after playing pretty close against Miami here. So I actually think because Clemson just had a close call as a favorite and Pittsburgh had a close call as an underdog, I actually kind of lean to Clemson in this game, even though I think the public is going to be on Clemson as well, and it just looks way too easy to lay the points. I would have a slight lean that way, although Pittsburgh, you got to think they will probably get up for Clemson, though, because Clemson was one of the top teams in the ACC the last couple of years, so I don't really see Pitt really overlooking this game, so I don't know. That game's not one that I want to deal with, obviously. Clemson down to a 3-point favorite and a low total of 136. I don't know what we're talking. I don't know. Who's Andy Van Slyke? I have no idea who these people are. All right. We got Oklahoma State, Texas Tech on ESPN2, finally in the 1 p.m. slate here. Texas Tech, obviously the better team, ranked 15th. Oklahoma State has a nice-looking record, but they are not as good as that record looks. They've had a really, really easy schedule, Oklahoma State, so I'm not really buying that Oklahoma State is this good. Am I buying that they might wind up making the tournament this year? Maybe, but they're not as good as their record looks. I mean, they've had a real easy schedule. They have one good win over Texas A&M. Actually, I guess a decent road win against Northwestern you could throw in there, and then they lost to their big brother, Oklahoma. And since then, they've just had some easy opponents, having to step way up in class here to face Texas Tech. Second true road game, and yes, I know they won the first one at Northwestern, but Texas Tech, definitely a different animal. Although Texas Tech, I think, dealing with some injuries this year, but I don't know if they're getting these guys back or not. But Texas Tech, we faded them in their last game, and they still won. They were coming off that huge game against Duke. I believe, did we get the cover on Winthrop in that one? I don't remember. Texas Tech won the game, though I think we probably did not get the cover in that one. Easy win for Texas Tech. Now, the problem for Texas Tech here, though, is that they're playing Houston next in 3 days, so that could be a major look-ahead spot. Although I don't know if Texas Tech is going to overlook their conference home opener, though, and conference opener. So there's a lot going on in this game. Which is why I don't like it, because I don't have enough indicators pointing me in one direction here. Texas Tech's up to an 11.5-point favorite. Total is high at 169.5. Money looks like it came in a little bit on Texas Tech early. I mean, it might be a game where the numbers guys disagree with the situational guys, because I think the numbers guys are going to say, well, Oklahoma State is just crap, because they haven't played anybody good, so Texas Tech should be able to hammer them. But I come in and I say, well, I'm worried that Texas Tech might be looking ahead. So that would be one reason to maybe look towards Oklahoma State there. But a reason to not, besides the fact that they're not that good, is the total being too high. So there is that as well. Or the total being high, I should say. But it also looks like, from a numbers perspective, it almost looks too easy to take Oklahoma State, right? Like a 12-1 team getting double digits as an underdog. Like, that line looks kind of crazy. Although, then again, Texas Tech is ranked 15th in the country. So that might hold the public in check a little bit as far as thinking that way. All right, SEC Network at 1 p.m. We have Auburn and Georgia. Georgia's ranked 23rd. Auburn, I don't know what to think about Auburn right now, man. I mean, they're in a transition period to some extent here. They lost Bruce Pearl, of course, to the broadcast booth or whatever, to the analyst panel, whatever you want to say. Auburn's faced some difficult teams this year, though. They played fairly well, really. They lost by 1 to Houston. They did get blown out by Michigan, but, I mean, I'm not going to knock them too much for that. Blown out by Arizona on the road. Arizona is solid as well. They beat St. John's, and then they did lose in a blowout to Purdue. Purdue's also good, so you kind of have to figure out, well, what are they going to do against Georgia, who's not as good as, I don't think, any of those teams I just mentioned, but they're probably better than the other teams. And Auburn does have a win over NC State as well. I forgot to mention that, and Oregon. So they've actually faced a pretty difficult schedule, facing a lot of power conference teams here. Now, their one road game so far was the one in Arizona where they got destroyed. So they haven't been good on the road, but it's only a single game sample size. Georgia, I mean, they've been hot. They've looked good, but Georgia has actually faced a much, much weaker schedule than Auburn has. Georgia, I mean, who's the toughest opponent they face? Clemson, probably, and they lost that game by 3, which isn't bad, but their wins are not impressive, dude. Winning by single digits against Georgia Tech, Xavier, not impressive. Beating Florida State, Cincinnati, those aren't very good teams. So, yeah, I mean, Georgia really has not faced great opponents yet, and they do have Florida next in 3 days. So that is a rivalry, the Georgia-Florida line. It's more of a football rivalry, but I think it is still kind of a rivalry in basketball as well. And with Auburn looking kind of down this year, I kind of think Auburn's the right side in this game. They're the more battle-tested team, like I said. Georgia's up to a 5-point favorite here. It almost looks a little bit easy to lay the points. It is a high total at 173.5 because I think Georgia does play fast. I can't even type, of course. Yeah, Georgia's 3rd in the country in tempo, which is ridiculous, really insane. And, I think that's too fast, but whatever. Auburn, I don't believe, plays particularly slow either, which is why the total is that high. So an over, might make sense in this game. But if you want me to pick a side, I think probably Auburn plus the points is the lean. Auburn just beat Queens easily, so they're coming off a nice momentum starting win there. All right. Colgate and Army and the Patriot, I'm just going to point out because I believe this is a rematch of one of the later games in the Patriot tournament last year. I think Army, did they even make it the whole way, or am I thinking of Navy? I forget, but I think Colgate won the Patriot, or no, American won the tournament. What am I saying? But I think Colgate knocked Army out of the Patriot tournament last year, so there is a little bit of revenge on the side of Army here in this game. So I think Army does have this game circled, although they probably would already because Colgate is usually one of the better teams in this conference. Colgate's coming off a pretty bad performance at Lafayette where they only won by 8. I don't know if they're going to be looking ahead to American because American looks like they're one of the more competitive teams in this conference this year. So I could see it going both ways for Colgate. Like, they're coming off kind of an ugly performance, but they might be looking ahead here. I do worry about Army a little bit here, though, because Army's definitely not going to overlook Colgate, but Army did just pull off an upset, I believe, at Lehigh in their last game. So that worries me a little bit about looking towards the Army side here, but I will lean that way. I think the game does mean something to them, especially to maybe get revenge against a team that ended their season last year. Colgate's a 6.5-point favorite. 147.5 is the total. It's probably going to be an ugly game where maybe it makes sense to take the points from that perspective as well. Okay. else do we want to talk about here? I think it's a similar situation with Vermont, New Hampshire, if I'm not mistaken. I think Vermont did eliminate New Hampshire from the American East tournament last year, but I don't know how much that really matters. Like, New Hampshire's going to try to get up for a game against Vermont anyway, because Vermont is, like, always at the top of this conference, although Bryant actually won the conference last year. I forgot Bryant was in this conference, because I was like, wait, who won this conference last year? Yeah, Vermont, they're coming off kind of an ugly loss at Princeton. I mean, Princeton's not very good this year, so Vermont might kind of bounce back off of that, but I do think New Hampshire will try to show up in this game, and Vermont may not be as good right now as they have been typically. That kind of remains to be seen. New Hampshire just got smashed by Nebraska. I mean, of course they did. Kind of predictable there, but they are having to travel back home for this one. But overall, probably would lean towards taking the points with New Hampshire. It's a 7.5-point spread in that one. Obviously, Vermont the favorite, and the total is pretty high, pretty low, at 139.5. So it makes way more sense to take the points with a total that's that low. All right. CBS at 1:30 p.m. has BYU at Kansas State, number 10 in the country, BYU. That's what they're ranked. Ken Pom actually has them exactly that, 10th in the country. They're pretty good, balanced team for the most part. They play a little bit too fast for my liking, but what can you do? They're going to Kansas State here. Kansas State's not great. I don't think we know where Kansas State's going to wind up this year, but Ken Pom has them pretty bad, actually. It's 75th in the country, and they play even faster. It's 17th in tempo. Not good. I don't like that. And their defense is horrible, 120th in Ken Pom's defensive rankings. So a lot of things that don't look good about Kansas State here, but sometimes it's about the spot. And for BYU, they actually have not played a true road game yet, believe it or not. In out-of-conference play, they never played a true road game, which is crazy to think about. But this is going to be their first true road game, having to go to Kansas State. So weird things can happen in a spot like that, man. I don't know if they're really going to be looking ahead to Arizona State. Arizona State, still, I think, with Bobby Hurley as their coach there, just things not really going that well for them. For BYU, coming off an easy win over a pretty bad Eastern Washington team this year. And again, that was actually before Christmas as well. So something to keep in mind with these games. First game of conference play. Some of these teams have not played since before Christmas. So I think that's bad. Like BYU, that could cost them a lot of their momentum because they hadn't lost since they lost to UConn, their only loss of the season, in mid-November. So for them to go without playing for this amount of time, that's not good. I think that could really disrupt their momentum. As I always say, when you have an extended break when you're winning, that's not what you want. So that makes it a little bit worse for BYU here. Kansas State, they did play after the break. They got a win over UL Monroe, which was not impressive at all, barely getting by them. And that was Kansas State's first game out of the break. They might have been looking ahead to playing BYU and then Arizona. So I do think the spot is better for Kansas State here, so that would be the way I would lean in this one. And I think, in a way, it looks too easy to play BYU. Like, the line doesn't look that high. It's down from 8.5 to 7.5 here. I do worry that Ken Pom's rankings do have a pretty wide disparity between these two teams. And the total is quite high because both teams play pretty fast at 172.5. So that makes me worry a little bit about taking the points, but I do lean to Kansas State plus the points in that one. Fox at 2 p.m. We have Houston, number 8th in the country, at Cincinnati. My instinct on this game pretty much says under in this game because even though Cincinnati plays a bit faster, they really are not good offensively, and they are actually pretty good defensively. And Houston, of course, you know what they do. They slow the pace down. They'll probably be able to control the pace in this game as well, I would guess, even though they're on the road. They are the better team. Not as good as they have been in the last couple of years, though, unfortunately, as Houston. I mean, they're a team that they're always like able to just not even reload, but like they bring guys up through their system. So they just continue to be pretty good, but they're ranked 11th in Ken Pom's rankings right now, so not a complete powerhouse like they have been the past couple of years. They've looked pretty good this year. I mean, their only losses to Tennessee, and Tennessee had revenge for getting knocked out of the actual tournament, March Madness last year to Houston. So that was a big game. Houston beat Auburn. Fine win there. And they beat Arkansas, though Houston's not very battle-tested right now. They're coming off kind of a weird game against Middle Tennessee, where Houston only won that game by 9. But if you look at the box score, Houston was winning that game by like 16 with like a minute to go. And I think they must have walked off the floor or something, because Middle Tennessee just put up a ton of points at the end in garbage time when it didn't matter at all. So this win was a little bit easier than it looks like, but it was still kind of an ugly-looking win. Now, Houston's going on the road here. This is actually their first true road game. So, again, we have another one of those situations. So that's kind of weird. So it might make it a little bit more difficult because they're having to go on the road here for the first time. Unlike BYU, Houston did play after the break. That Middle Tennessee game was a nice tune-up, I would say, after the break. But you do have to worry that maybe Houston looks ahead to Texas Tech here. And you know Cincinnati will at least show up for a game against Houston. And all they did was play Lipscomb in their last game. We got that one wrong, I know. Lipscomb did not cover in that one. But the spot does set up better, in my opinion, for Cincinnati. And if it's going to be kind of one of these low-scoring, ugly games, taking the points is better in a situation like that. Houston's only laying 7, which doesn't look like a lot for the recreational bettors that might come in and play Houston in this game. It almost looks too easy to do that. The 7 is not a big number. The total is also not big, although it's up a little bit to 135. I would take the points probably if I was going to play it, and I think under kind of makes sense in the game as well, just based on the style that those two teams play. So that's that game. Jizzle James, yeah, where's he at now? I feel like that was a name like long ago. How is that guy still playing if he is? He must be like 30 years old. Ugh, my voice is killing me, man. All right. Try to soften my voice a little bit. Maybe I should like lean back in my chair, you know. Let's see. What if I just kind of relax like this, you know? Whew, take a breath, you know. I'm always like leaning forward and getting real excited about it. I don't know. How's this? We can have like lounging Toad here. How about this? Vandy, number 11, at South Carolina at 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. Vandy, they're definitely legit, man. Ken Baum has them at 7th in the country. A very, very balanced Vandy, man. I mean, I know they lost that bowl the other day. I don't think they cared about it that much. I liked Iowa in that one. Vandy sports has been excellent this year, man. The football team had a great season. The basketball team right now looks like the best team in the SEC, which is insane to think about. Coming from kind of out of nowhere, even though they made the tournament last year. Yes, late night lounge. Maybe that's what we should call these streams now. I need to do it from like a couch or something. For Vandy here, they have to go on the road to South Carolina. South Carolina is going to, I think, try to kind of do the opposite of Vandy, because Vandy plays fast. South Carolina does not. South Carolina plays slow. And yes, Vandy is definitely the better team. We all know this. South Carolina, not good at all, really, at 88th in Ken Baum's rankings. But Ken Baum does have them as one of the 10 unluckiest teams in the country, or 11 unluckiest. So he's saying South Carolina's underperformed a bit, although they faced the 5th weakest schedule as well. So that's not great. The South Carolina's just not battle-tested at all. Now, South Carolina does play pretty slow. 262nd in tempo. So they're going to try to ugly this thing up, slow it way down. Now for Vandy, they did play once after the break, so that'll help continue their momentum. They beat New Haven, but they might overlook South Carolina, man, because Vandy has a big game up next against Alabama. I think they're going to pay more attention to Alabama in the next game, if I were to guess. So, and then South Carolina, for their purposes, they just beat Albany. Really easy win for South Carolina as well. That was after the break as well. You know, conference home opener, get to host a highly ranked team, get to muddy it up for them, and maybe Vandy overlooks them a little bit. I think if you're going to play the game, I think taking the points is the move in this one. Although Vandy is down from 14.5 to 11. Although 14 is not a key number in basketball, so it's not football here. Although you've lost some value if you do like South Carolina. Hopefully, the public might come in and maybe drive this line back up a little bit, but I would take the points with South Carolina if I was going to play it. Total is kind of in the mid-range at 156. Oh, thank you, Charles. 400. It's about time. I want to bump this thing up big time, man. It's just these long live streams. I don't know. People don't love this format, I don't think, but I don't know. I might be one of the only people doing something like this, like going this in depth with this many different sports. I don't know. And having like all these like long live streams where, I interact with the chat and whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one doing it. Kansas at UCF. Ooh, man. At 2 p.m. on Peacock and NBC Sports. The autists love it. Yeah, there aren't enough of them, though. This game, it's interesting, man, because UCF is playing pretty well so far this season, but I don't think they've been that battle-tested. I'll look in a minute. Kansas is ranked 17th in the country. They're about ranked where they should be, I think. Ken Baum has them at – where does he have them at? Where is Kansas? Am I blind? Yeah, he has them 16th. Yeah, so Kansas, they're back on the upswing, man. I mean, they're a good defensive team, sixth in defense. They don't score that well, though, and they play a bit slow. As far as UCF's going to want to play a bit faster. UCF is much worse defensively, though, so it's kind of it's one of the more typical matchups where you got Kansas, slow defensive team against UCF, fast offensive team, but of course Kansas is the favorite here. Now, I'm just remembering last year I actually laid the points with Kansas in a spot like this when they went to UCF, because I think UCF beat Kansas at UCF the year prior to that when UCF was like new to the Big 12. So Kansas was then used to the trip, and they went in, and it was some really good spot, I think, to play Kansas, even though I think some of the professional bettors disagreed with me on the Kansas-UCF game last year. But it was a spot where, like, UCF was coming off some really, really major game, and I think Kansas was a little bit down and coming off some really bad games. So I laid it with Kansas, similar number to this, and got an absolute blowout win from Kansas last year. Like, they completely embarrassed UCF in that game. I think Kansas might have won that game by 50 points. That one made me feel really good, because I'm like, when you're that right about a game, like, I don't know if I've had a blowout win to that extent, like, ever. I mean, you guys can go back and figure out what the score was, but it was insane. But now, maybe the shoe's on the other foot now, because UCF probably remembers that game, just getting absolutely embarrassed by Kansas on this floor. And they're going to step up for a game against Kansas, which I didn't include that in my handicap in that game last year. Like, UCF should get up for Kansas. I don't remember exactly why I didn't, but I'm glad I didn't, because I was very right about the game. But in this game, I don't know what we're going to get out of Kansas here. Kansas is coming off an easy win over Davidson. They do play TCU next, and maybe they look ahead a little bit, but I don't know if they're going to overlook UCF, because UCF is a one-loss team right now, so I don't know. Kansas, though, they haven't played since before the break, so again, something to keep in mind. That break can hurt their momentum here, so they might come into this game a little bit rusty. For UCF, I don't think UCF's played a difficult schedule. Like I said, the reason why they're 11-1, this schedule is total weak sauce. I mean, their best wins are against Texas A&M on the road. I mean, it's a good win, no shame in that. And then they had a neutral win over Pitt, which is really not anything to boast about. So, UCF has played a very weak schedule. Kansas is obviously the better team and the more battle-tested team. Now, UCF also has not played since before the break, so something to keep in mind. Both teams could have their momentum totally stalled out, so that kind of negates itself. And maybe that momentum stalling will hurt UCF more, because they're more of a fast offensive team. So that, is a bit, I don't know what else to say, but like having the long break might hurt a team that plays that style more, is what I should say. So, I mean, this game is obviously a complete pass for me, but if you look at the line, it also looks too easy to play Kansas up. I just went over them. Kansas is only a 4.5-point favorite, down from 6. Total's in the 150, so it's not a huge total. You know, it looks way too easy to play Kansas. I would probably lean to UCF in this one, but we just don't know what we're going to get out of them. We don't know how good they even are, so I worry about that. It's not a situation like last year where the situation was really strong for Kansas. This time it really isn't, and it is still kind of a weird spot for Kansas to have to travel to Orlando or wherever Central Florida is, so I'll lean that way in this one. Maybe UCF will bounce back from losing horribly to Kansas at home last year, and I'm pretty sure they lost on the road to Kansas as well, although it might have been a little bit closer. That game is at 2 p.m. Eastern. Advertise it over 3.8%. Yeah, I mean, you want to shoot for between like 3 and 5%, really. Thank you, Mr. Pinsey. You just might be one of those autists, though, man. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I'm too much of a tout, though, if I, like, boast my, my stats, my ROI and stuff like that. But it's been really, really insane over the last 3 months, though. LaSalle at GW at George Washington here in the A10 conference here. There was another A10 game that I thought was more interesting. I don't know. This is, of course, on USA Network. This game is interesting just because LaSalle is coming off playing George Mason really close. That was a big game for LaSalle. George Mason is one of the better teams of this conference. They were obviously the favorite in that game. And LaSalle on New Year's Eve played really, really tight against George Mason, man. And I think George Mason had 0 turnovers in the game, which I was looking at the box score and I double-taked. I'm like, what? Like, there were only 4 turnovers in the game. I've never seen anything like that, but very, very odd. But anyway, LaSalle, they played George Mason really close, so coming off of that, it might be a difficult spot for them to have to try to keep up that effort again. Although, if they can, they probably will, because GW is playing pretty decent so far as well. Now, GW is coming off a pretty good game themselves on New Year's Eve. I believe it was an upset of Richmond on the road. Let me see. Not that ESPN projections really tell you who the favorite was here. It looks like GW actually was projected to win according to ESPN, but whatever. That was a nice win for them. GW does have Dayton up next, so I kind of worry about GW a little bit. They might look ahead to Dayton a little bit because Dayton is like one of the teams that's always kind of there in the mix in the A10, so they might overlook LaSalle. So I do worry about that a little bit. Whoops. But, yeah, I don't know. The money seems to be coming in on LaSalle. George Washington down from 16.5 to 15. Of course, we don't see any percentages yet because I'm doing this at night. But, in that game, I might actually lean towards laying the points slightly in that one. But, again, I know I'm giving out all these opinions, but it's like, I don't know. Like some of these games, I mean, these are very, very weak opinions for me, so let's just say that. Baylor is at TCU on TNT. This is an interesting one. I mean, it's a Texas battle. Both teams are going to get up for this game, so it's going to come down to which team is the better team, probably. Baylor, looking at their schedule, they have a win over Washington, win over Creighton. They lost to St. John's. Beat San Diego State, lost to Memphis on the road. That's not great. Now, this is their second true road game, although playing at TCU is something they do all the time, so they're not going to be thrown off by going to TCU. TCU's schedule has been, I don't know. I don't know which team actually has the more difficult schedule here. TCU has a close loss to Michigan. That's a pretty good performance from them in that one. They beat Florida, pretty solid. Beat Wisconsin. They do have a loss to Notre Dame in here, which is not terrific, especially if that was at home. I don't know if that was home or a neutral game. Now, for TCU, they did play on Monday, so they're coming off a win over Jackson State, kind of a tune-up game. They do have Kansas next, I think is what that was. I think I already mentioned that, but they're not going to overlook Baylor, man. Baylor also did have a game that they played out of the break already, so they have momentum right now as well. Baylor plays Iowa State and Houston next, but I don't think they're going to overlook TCU. So I think it's kind of a more of a numbers handicap. because I think both teams will show up for this. TCU's up from a 1-point favorite to a 1.5-point favorite, which is the odds makers telling you Baylor is actually the better team, though. KenPom has Baylor 29th in the country, actually. Baylor is a very lopsided team, though. They actually play somewhat faster this year, and they're really good on offense and pretty bad on defense. I mean, there's a massive discrepancy. 7th in offense and 101st in defense, according to KenPom. So I don't like teams that profile like that. As far as TCU, where are they at? They're down at 55th in KenPom's rankings. They play a lot slower. They're also imbalanced, but they're towards the defensive side. 30th in defense and 107th in offense. But you know me, I actually lean towards the slowdown defensive teams, although Baylor has definitely played the more difficult schedule here. You can see with KenPom's rankings, significantly so. But I don't know, man. I kind of like the team that plays defense better and the team that might muddy it up and slow it down. So I would probably slightly lean to TCU in that game. The number's up from 1 to 1.5 in that one. Big gambling Twitter pages, advertise their outrageous wins. Yeah, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, they're just, I don't know what you want to call them. Some form of tout, I guess, yeah. Dude, you shouldn't take anybody seriously that does parlays, okay? Like, I know some of you guys like to do parlays for fun, whatever. I mean, sure. I mean, go ahead. But, like, you know, as far as, like, a serious, like, gambling, if you're really trying to profit, I'm saying that you should not put serious money on parlays because it's a losing bet. It's minus expected value, negative expected value, you know? So the guys that, like, tout how good they are and all they're doing is parlays, it's bullshit. Because you basically can't beat the books doing all parlays. They just never give you good enough odds on it. All right, what else do we have going on? South Carolina, Upstate, and Presbyterian, I just thought was weird because Presbyterian is literally the only team in the Big South that doesn't have a conference game yet. So they might show up a little extra for that game, and they're coming off a non-Division I win as well. So Presbyterian might be the right side in this one. The Blue Hose. Their name is Pantyhose, man. I don't know. It has something to do with something Scottish or I don't know what it is. South Carolina Upstate is coming off kind of a difficult game against Radford. Radford's been a little bit under the radar, I think, because they played kind of badly in out-of-conference play, but Radford is better than they look, and they've looked pretty good in conference play so far, which I kind of expected. But USC Upstate is coming off that game against Radford. Pretty big game. They might be looking ahead to Winthrop because Winthrop just kind of has name recognition in the conference. And then Charleston Southern and High Point both playing well. Of course, High Point won the conference last year as well. So Presbyterian does look like kind of a weird spot there where maybe it's a flat spot for USC Upstate. So I lean Presbyterian in that one. They're a 1-point favorite, which also might look weird to some of the recreational bettors just because they're a below 500 team, although USC Upstate's only a 500 team. But again, records don't tell you the whole story because a lot of teams play a lot of like Division I or non-Division I teams, and stuff like that out of conference, so whatever. All right. You only know the two cappers, me and Walking Bets. Yeah, Walking Bets is, she stopped doing it, right? Because she had a baby. Taylor Mathis, you mean her? You could go follow Lucy Burge. She's a Boston chick. She might be the original Walking Bets, actually. I don't know, because that's what she does, but she does it as more of like I'm going to show you my outfit type of thing. But I think she's way hotter than Taylor Mathis, dude. I know Taylor Mathis has huge tits and whatever, but you know me, that's not my thing. I'm a tit man, but I don't like the massively oversized ones. Like Lucy Burge is way hotter in my opinion, like way cuter, and she's from around here. And she's not that much of a fan of me from the Twitter interactions, so because I hit on her. No, actually sometimes I do. But whatever. Yes, correct. That's what the books thrive on, man. That's why they advertise the parlays all the time. It might be a bit of a trap there. They're trying to rope you all in, and you get those. Yeah, it's just a bad it's a bad bet, and they know it. They know they're going to make money off of you. And, of course, the public loves that. Oh, my God, I'm getting, like, plus money on these bets. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like, it's tempting. It's like the lottery. Oh, my God, there's a chance I can win a lot by only paying a little. Yeah. Yeah, you can look her up. Lucy Burge, also a plus that her voice is way less irritating than Taylor Mathis. Taylor Mathis, man, oh, my God. I don't know if it's, is it a Minnesota, Wisconsin, maybe like a Midwest accent that she has. I don't know, but whatever it is, I don't mind those accents, but combined with like the tone of her voice, it's like absolutely grating. So Lucy Burge, better voice to listen to as well. So I will say that. All right. I don't know. I don't think should I talk about Xavier DePaul? I don't know. If you want me to talk about some of these other games, I can, but I mean, it's a Big East game. Xavier, I mean, they're just not very good this year. They just got blown out by UConn, though. This game's on Fox Sports 1 at 2 p.m. Coming off that blowout loss, they should probably bounce back. Whereas DePaul, actually, I think is coming off what did I talk about? I already talked about DePaul. Yeah, they played Villanova really close, so I think DePaul was actually in the worst spot here, even though as a doormat in the Big East, they usually try to get up for every game, but that's just impossible to do. I mean, they're humans. You can't have a full effort every single game, so I actually probably prefer Xavier in this one, although the public is probably going to come in on this and also agree with Xavier getting points. Looks weird to see DePaul as a favorite up from 2 to 2.5, so I don't love that it's one of those misleading lines. Like, how is DePaul a favorite? Even though they do have an above 500 record right now because they played weak out-of-conference opponents. But I think the spot's a little bit better for Xavier, and that's the way I lean. Though Xavier, again, they're really, really not playing well this year, man. It's not going well for Richard Pitino there. Rick Pitino's son. Some Midwest accents I'm fine with. Like, dude, what about that thick, like, news woman chick? You know who I'm talking about? The one who she reads the insulting tweets. She became famous for doing that, for all the tweets that are insulting her. I don't mind her voice. She's also hilarious, and I think she's kind of hot. You know who I'm talking about, right? I forget her name though. Justin, what's up? Nope, that's not the way to handicap, man. When you see that a team was bad against like a really bad team, you got to look at what the situation was, because a single game like that can completely mislead you. Like, usually I want to fade that sentiment. Like, if they had just played poorly against Missouri State and they're in literally their previous game, I would be all over Xavier in the next game because they played a bad game the previous game and it's going to shock them back into focus. You know what I mean? So you can't just look at a game like that, man, and really draw that much from it. Yeah, Carissa Codell, that's right. Justin, you know her, right? Tell her about me, man. Let's go. Let's hook it up. I'll move to Missouri. And misery is what I call it, though. Even though I've never actually set foot in the state, I've only flown over it, believe it or not. Yeah, you'll see her out there. All right. The next one is going to be one of my best bets, which you probably already knew that was going to be the case. Although I feel like I kind of have to get more water, though. Should I make you wait? We'll go to an intermission here, even though I'm like not even halfway done with the board. Holy crap. This is going to be like a 2.5-hour show, man. We're going way, way late. It's college basketball, man. I did this in like the mornings last year. I don't even know how I did it. I don't think I did quite as in-depth as I'm doing now, but all this for 3 plays, though, man. Give me 1 second. You guys, you might be able to guess what I'm doing in this next game. Here's the game. Hold on a second. Oh, my God. I'm dying here, man. I should have like a video that I play during the intermission, man. I don't know. Maybe I can figure something out. I don't know, right? Sometimes I just drop one of my drops that I have, one of the longer ones. Best bets, you know what this is going to be already. We're going to take the points. There you go. We get an underdog. The only underdog out of the three. My guys, Boston College, which you can't even bet it in Massachusetts because the law is against it. You can't bet at any of the Massachusetts colleges in Massachusetts. So it might have to go old school on that one and find other means that might exist out there for doing so. BC is at Georgia Tech. This is on the ACC network at 2 p.m. Now, BC, I like how this sets up a lot on both sides, actually, because already I was going to be eyeing this game because of what Georgia Tech just did, and I probably would play it anyway just for that reason. But look at what BC just did, man. BC was at home against Lemoyne. Lemoyne is not good, and they're in the Northeast Conference or whatever. They're pretty new to Division I as well. And BC at home barely got by them. They only won by 8, and they could have lost this game. There was a horrible performance from BC in this game. So I think they're going to be looking to play a lot better coming off of that, and maybe they were even looking ahead to ACC play. I know BC is really bad, but Georgia Tech is honestly not that much better. And BC, again, the spot is so much better. I mean, BC barely got through this game, and it reached a point where they were, I think, only winning by 3 or 4 in the final minute of the game. So BC barely got by that, and when a huge favorite like BC was in this game, presumably, they were probably a double-digit favorite in this game. When they almost lose the game outright, they usually show up focused in the next game. So I think that's what we're going to get here. And, of course, on the Georgia Tech side, what did they just do? They just almost beat Duke, to be honest. They went into Duke, and they played pretty well in this game against Duke, man. They were in this game almost the entire way, down whatever that is, 3. They were actually, down 2, tied with a few minutes left, whatever. They were still within 1 possession in the final minute of the game. So Georgia Tech, that was a monster performance for Georgia Tech. I think they were, 24-point underdogs in this game. I told you they would cover. But now the fact that Georgia Tech almost won the game outright as a monster underdog in that game, that was one of their games of the year, man. That was massive. I just think they're going to be massively flat coming off of that, even though I know this is technically their conference home opener. But how excited do you get about Boston College after you just did that against Duke? I don't know. And up next, they do have Syracuse. And Syracuse at least is a team that draws, they have name recognition at the very least. And they're 9-5 overall. So they're at least they're better than BC. And they're, Syracuse, again, it's the name. Of course, because of the Jim Boeheim era and whatever, Syracuse kind of always draws your attention to some extent. So, yeah, we're definitely fading Georgia Tech here. They're a 6.5-point favorite. I don't know if we're going to get to that key number 7 or not, although I guess you could wait a little bit just to see where the number is going to go. Don't know if you're going to get a better number than 6.5 or not. The total's pretty low at 146, so taking the points makes sense in a game with a lower total, of course. Now, for Boston College, the other thing I like about this is they're actually the better defense. Ken Bum has them 67th overall in defense, even though they're horrific offensively at 268th, but they're actually better defensively than Georgia Tech is. And he only has Georgia Tech 24 ranking spots higher, so not that much. He's got Georgia Tech as having faced a very, very weak schedule at 344th, although BC at 341, not much better. He does have BC as one of the unluckiest teams, though, at 350, so they're one of the bottom 15 teams in luck, which means that they've underperformed, so that's good. Georgia Tech, a little bit unlucky as well, but not as significantly so at 204. Also, BC might be able to slow this game down, man, even though I know they're going on the road. Georgia Tech wants to go up-tempo here and speed this up, but it is easier to slow the game down for any team, really, to slow the game down. So maybe BC will be able to muddy this thing up and play defense, and that's what we wanted. The total is kind of telling you that. Why is the total this low? When you're looking at the home team being a faster-paced team like Georgia Tech, that's part of the reason why, but Georgia Tech is also not good offensively. They're 176th offensively and 93rd defensively. So, I mean, they're not good anyway. They're 125th overall, according to KenPom, but they're also a more defensive-oriented team than offense. Both of these teams are more defense than offense. Just BC is an extreme variety of it. But it does so happen that BC is the better defense here, getting points, and the team that's laying points is in a horrible spot, and they're a team that isn't great offensively. So a lot of things come into the mix, a lot of things pointing BC's way in this one. And then also, of course, as I already said, BC played horribly in their last game. So BC plus the points in that one. Carissa's a thick Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah, man. Maybe. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a pun on that. I can't really think of one right now, though. Underdog, the cartoon. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. All right. South Dakota State and North Dakota. I think that North Dakota actually upset South Dakota State in the Summit tournament last year and knocked them out of the tournament. So I think South Dakota State might actually show up in this game because of that. They might remember that. I believe that's the case. Let me see. I don't know if I'm wrong about this or not. Let me see. I might be. Don't hold me to it. I might be thinking of the wrong thing. Yes, I am correct, actually. That Summit tournament got all jacked up, man. Jackrabbited up. So South Dakota State might show up for this, although they are coming off a nice win over Omaha 2 days ago. In Omaha, they're not great, but they did win the conference last year, so that's a decent win for South Dakota State, but I don't think they're going to overlook the team that knocked them out last year, man, the team that ended their season, you know, and did it in a situation where South Dakota State was supposed to win that game, I'm pretty sure, too. So they might show up for this game and have it circled. North Dakota's coming up beating Oral Roberts to start conference play. It's a fine win, but I don't know. I mean, I think I would probably lean to South Dakota State in this one just because I think they might show up just because of the revenge motive here, although you don't want to overstate revenge and overvalue it. The money has come in against them for now, though. They're down from 8.5 to 6.5 here. Total in 149.5. So just putting the information out there, man. As always, I have no good transition from one game to another. We do have in the American East Bryant and Maine. We're not even out of the 2 p.m. slate. Oh, my God. Yeah, Oral Roberts is shit. Yeah, but again, that's just kind of like a tidbit, right? Like, I don't know. It doesn't really help handicapping purposes. Like, this team sucks is factored into the line. Bryant and Maine. This is a rematch of the conference final last year. Believe it or not, Maine. I kind of wanted to see Maine get into the tournament, man. They had a decent season last year. They're not having one this year. But maybe they'll show up for this one because Bryant beat them in the conference final last year. So the game probably does mean something to Maine here. Bryant is also not as good this year. Bryant coming off beating Worcester State, man. One of the teams from my neck of the woods, Worcester State, a non-Division I team there. Bryant coming off that, so they're not coming off a big win or anything like that. And then for Maine, what did Maine do in their last game? They beat the University of Motherfucking, UMFK. The Maine Fort Kent Bengals. Yeah, whatever. So Maine got that win over a non-Division I team. So the way it sets up, it's fine for both teams. But, you know, maybe Maine just has a little bit extra here because it's the rematch of the finals from last year. Bryant down from 2 to 1.5 here. Total really low at 127. So taking any points you can get kind of makes sense here. I would lean to Maine plus the points in that one. We got UNC and SMU. Is Garrett in the chat right now? I don't know. Did we see him earlier? I have no idea. Did he leave already? Because this is way too long of a show. Number 12 ranked North Carolina at SMU. And this is another one of those situations, man, where you have an unranked team favored over a ranked team. SMU is flipped from a 2-point dog to a 1-point favorite here. So that immediately catches my attention. As you know, like when you see an unranked team favored over a ranked team, well, why is that, right? You have to ask that question. Now, in this case, I mean, yeah, it's all about the power rankings. Ken Bum has SMU 39th, which is pretty good. He has them really lucky, though, at 47th, so I worry about SMU a little bit. They're better offensively than defensively. North Carolina is actually better defensively than offensively. They're considerably better defense here. Ranked 23rd in Ken Bum's rankings, by the way. So North Carolina is overranked by the rankings makers right now, which maybe you'd expect that because it's North Carolina. They're always going to get that kind of respect when they're playing well. North Carolina plays a bit slow. SMU is going to try to speed this up a little bit, and maybe they will be able to at home. But North Carolina, again, they are the better defense. North Carolina is high in the luck index, too, though, at 41st. So both teams have kind of overperformed. So what do we do with this game? I mean, I'm staying away. North Carolina just beat Florida State. I mean, not an impressive win, really. They've only played one road game so far, though, and they won at Kentucky, which was a fine win. But we'll see what they could do when they have to go to Texas here to SMU. Now, SMU at 11-2, they have not faced that difficult to schedule. They beat Mississippi State, and they should have lost that game, and I'm pissed about it because that was a loss here on the show with Mississippi State. Mississippi State blew that game. SMU lost to Vandy on the road. I mean, you can't really knock them for that. And then they lost at home to an LSU team that's playing okay this year. But other than that, SMU, they're really not that battle-tested. They beat Butler as well, my mistake. That's an okay win there. But we'll see what they can do, man. Obviously, they're going to show up for their conference home opener. Actually, their conference opener. They haven't even played a conference game yet. So you know they're going to get up for this game against North Carolina. And for North Carolina, they do have Wake next. I don't know if they're going to really look ahead to that, which is in a week, because Wake, I think, cares more about that game than North Carolina does. That's just the way that it is. Wake's the little brother there. But all that being said, you know me, if I don't really see a situation that's strong in the other direction, I think you got to lean towards the fact that the line just looks really fishy. Like, it's basically just a pick the winner. You know the public is going to be all over North Carolina in this one. So I'll lean to SMU in this one. They're a 1-point favorite here. It's got to be for a reason. It looks way too easy to play North Carolina in that one. So that's my opinion. Yeah, boo UNC. You and Garrett are going to fight, man. UNC, not a fan personally myself, but I had a soft spot for them, as I've said on the show before, because I liked Michael Jordan. Really fun to watch when I was growing up, and because Michael Jordan beat the evil Detroit Pistons. He stopped the Pistons, who were the evil guys, you know, with Bill Laimbeer and whatever, the guys that intentionally went out there and tried to hurt you and whatever, the team that ended the Celtics dynasty. So I was happy that Michael Jordan ended the Pistons run, or whatever you want to call it, before it really got much legs behind, or got many legs behind. I don't know. How do you even phrase that? I don't know. ESPN2 at 3 p.m. has pretty good SEC matchup between number 19 Tennessee and number 18 Arkansas. Now, Ken Bum is going to tell you the rankings are a little bit more disparate than that, as he has Tennessee 14th in the country and Arkansas 28th. Arkansas is a more offensive team and they play fast. Tennessee is a more defensive team and they play slow. So this is one of those classic handicaps where it's defense versus offense, and it's defense plus slow versus offense plus fast. And you know me, if there's no situation that indicates to look the other way, I like the team that plays defense and the team that slows it down. And of course, that also puts you on the side that is maybe getting value here, because I think Arkansas is the team that's overranked in the rankings, at least according to Ken Bum. So couple of reasons to like Tennessee here, man. And the odds makers are kind of telling you that's the case too, because Arkansas is not getting a full home court here, although they are up from 1.5 to 3. Total at 157.5 is obviously not low. They kind of had to throw it up there in the middle, I think, because it's like, well, Arkansas is going to try to go fast. Tennessee is going to try to play slow. So what's going to happen here? But again, you're giving me the better defense getting points with Tennessee. They're coming off beating South Carolina State. Who cares? After the break, nice momentum continuing win there for them. For Arkansas, they played out of the break and they beat James Madison. A little bit more of a difficult opponent, but whatever. That's a win. Staying at home, both teams are going to get up for it. And if that's the case, again, I think the rankings are misleading in this game a little bit. The rankings makers are actually telling you Arkansas is the better of the two teams, which is not the case. Give me the actual better team getting some points as the better defense as well in this one, man. I would say Tennessee is the way to lean in that game. Okay. What else do we have here? Any of these games that we want to talk about? This is a really, really good MAC game here, man, between Akron and Miami, Ohio. This is a rematch of the conference final last year, which was a crazy game. I don't know if you guys remember that game, but Akron was the best team in the MAC last year, and they were able to get it done. But Miami, Ohio was a decent team in the MAC as well. They made the final, and Miami, Ohio was blowing Akron out of that game. Miami, Ohio had like a 20-something point lead probably, and then Akron came all the way back and won the game. Absolutely crazy results. You know Miami, Ohio absolutely has this game circled, but Akron's not going to overlook Miami, Ohio either, because this Miami, Ohio team somehow continues to be undefeated. Even though I keep telling you the wheels are going to fall off of this Miami, Ohio team, man, at some point. And this might finally be it. I know I thought it was going to be when they were at Bowling Green, because Bowling Green plays strong defense, man. Bowling Green's one of the better defensive teams in the MAC. I was pretty surprised that Miami, Ohio won that game outright and won it as easily as they did. Maybe we have this team wrong, but I don't really think so. And Akron, right now, they're the best team in the MAC, man. Again, Akron is. And there's a reason why, as you're going to see, as I'm going to show you, they're actually favored on the road in this game. And the public might have a tendency to want to grab, oh my God, an undefeated team getting points at home. Looks very tempting to do that, to grab Miami, Ohio. And now this is an even more interesting matchup, by the way, because what I didn't realize is that I think this was the case last year as well. The two head coaches in this matchup are half brothers as well. So the two coaches here are related, which is insane. Yeah, they call themselves brothers. They're half brothers. They have different last names, but it's crazy, man. I don't know. It's just an added tidbit there that makes this more of a rivalry, I guess. It's already a rivalry because both teams are in Ohio. They're both some of the better teams in the MAC, but people are going to look at this and see, oh my God, Akron has 3 losses. Why are they laying 3 points on the road to Miami, Ohio, who's undefeated? Well, first of all, Akron's faced somewhat of a more difficult schedule, at least the fact, well, they lost to Purdue, so that's one of their losses. I mean, they weren't expected to win at Purdue, and they played fine in the game. They lost by 18. That's not horrible. They played pretty close in that game, actually. The game was close until late. Although I know other than that, Akron has not really faced that difficult to schedule. There are other losses that are Murray State and Yale. Those teams are not horrible. Now they're going on the road, yes, but they've been road tested, at least in the fact that they played at Purdue. They played at Tulane and actually won that game. Now for Miami, Ohio has really faced a weak schedule, though. They've faced nobody, dude. Miami, Ohio has not even faced a power conference team all season. So they faced one of the weakest schedules in all of college basketball. So, again, the wheels have to come off of this thing. Ken Bum has Miami, Ohio, having faced the 6th weakest schedule in the entirety of Division I, and they're 62nd in his luck index, so they've overperformed. They do play fast, and they're better offensively than defensively. Ken Bum has them outside of his top 100, by the way, even though they're 14-0. So they're amongst such undefeated teams right now as Vanderbilt and who was the other team I talked about that's undefeated right now? I forget, but it's just ridiculous, man. Miami, Ohio, they're not going to remain undefeated for that much longer. It might be now. Akron is the better team. It's why they're laying points on the road. Akron, 56th in Ken Bum's rankings. So the Akron is a very lopsided team, though, where they're 12th in offense and 208th in defense. You know, I don't like teams that profile that way. And they're 30th in tempo, so both teams play fast. This is going to be a fast-paced game here. Akron is way lower in the luck index, though, at 290 on Ken Bum. So he is telling you Akron's underperformed. Miami, Ohio is overperformed. Obviously, if I was going to play this game, I would play Akron. They're down from 3.5 to 2, so it looks like some of the money's coming against them. But they're the better team, man. There's a reason why they're favored on the road against an undefeated team. Ken Baum has them as significantly the better team here. So even though, yes, they're lopsided, Miami, Ohio kind of is as well. Both teams are more offensive than defensive. I'm not really going to disagree with you on an over as well, though the total dropped from 180.5 to 174 for some reason. But both teams play fast, and they don't play very good defense. So I don't really see that game staying under like any sort of total, even though it's a high total. So other than the fact that it might be like kind of a playoff type of atmosphere, but playoffs, but I don't know. These are just the style of team is just, you got to expect points to happen in that game. But I do like laying the points with Akron in that game too. Now that they're in a -2 favorite, a money line on Akron makes sense, man. And I know I've been saying it. I've said it probably a couple different times. Miami, Ohio's been an underdog multiple different times, man. But at some point, they're going to lose one of these games. And maybe it's this one, but of course, Akron does have Miami, Ohio does have the revenge motive here, though. Again, because of the conference final last year. So, a lot of things to keep in mind with that game. We have Ole Miss and Oklahoma at 3:30 p.m. This is on the SEC network. This is an ugly game, man. Both these teams, I think, are down this year. They were both tournament teams last year, but Ole Miss, I mean, they play slow. They play ugly. They're coming off a momentum continuing win here. I don't think they're going to overlook Oklahoma. They've only played one road game so far at St. John's, and they played all right. They lost by 5. So that was Ole Miss's road test so far. Oklahoma's faced a weak schedule for the most part as well. Best win is, I guess, the neutral site one against Marquette. Maybe the win over Wake Forest. I don't know. I know they beat Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma State is down, man. I'm not down, but Oklahoma State is not as good as they look, I mean, with that ridiculous record. So I don't know. Oklahoma's faced a pretty weak schedule, though. And they have losses to Nebraska. Oh, that was a close game, though. They played okay in that game. Nebraska's still undefeated. That's right. I forgot. They're one of the undefeated teams still. And Gonzaga handled Oklahoma pretty well. Now, Oklahoma beat Mississippi Valley State, the hilarious worst team in all of Division I. Didn't really beat them that decisively either, considering it was Mississippi Valley State. Oklahoma is laying 7 in this game, so the odds makers are telling you Oklahoma is the significantly better team over Ole Miss this year, but it's a low total at 146.5, and I just don't know, man. I don't know if I trust Oklahoma to lay points like that. I mean, they're a bad defense, which I don't love. Although they could score, their offense is how they do what they do. They're also a slow team, which is bizarre. A slow team that plays good offense. One of those weird profiles there. And then, as far as Ole Miss plays even slower, and Ole Miss is better defensively than offensively. So, again, I think if I have to pick this game, I think I would have to lean to taking the points with Ole Miss, though, as the better defense getting points there in what might be a slow, ugly game as well. So that's probably what I would have to do in that game. Total in the 140s, like I said. Duke is at Florida State on CBS. Duke ranks 6th in the country. Ken Baum's got them at 9th. Now, Duke, they're coming off that close call against Georgia Tech. Duke was coming off their first loss of the season, though, to Texas Tech, and it probably hung them over a little bit. I think that was part of my handicap in that game. I was correct about Georgia Tech covering in that one. I keep pointing it out. I got to point it out, man. Got to point out when I'm right, baby. Now, I think Duke should show up focused here, although they do have a potential look ahead to Louisville, which worries me a little bit. Maybe they overlook Florida State, but I think after Duke almost got caught against Georgia Tech, I think it's more likely that they will show up in this game. Florida State just played against UNC. It wasn't exactly close. They lost by 13. So they're having to play 2 North Carolina teams in a row. The top 2 North Carolina teams in a row, I should say. Florida State's not good, man. I mean, I think if I had to play this game, I would probably lay the points. Duke's down to a 15-point favorite here. The total's fairly high in the 160s, so it probably makes it easier for a favorite to cover in that case. Duke is actually a mid-tempo team this year. I'm used to them being a slow-paced team, and Florida State does play fast, so it's expected to be a lot of scoring in that game. All right, and then we have Arizona at Utah on Peacock. Arizona ranked first in the rankings. Ken Baum has them second. They're good. There's no doubt about it. Utah is not good. So Arizona's going to be laying a lot of points here. Although Arizona's going to have to go into elevation for this. So will they be good enough to cover a huge spread? I don't know. They're coming off beating South Dakota State coming out of the break. So they do have a little bit of momentum at least. They play Kansas State next. It's not like a huge look ahead. Arizona, of course, they're one of the other undefeated teams that I forgot to mention. Utah coming off a pretty tough game. They went to Washington and lost that game. So that was a more difficult game for them. So I think the spot actually doesn't totally set up that well for Utah. So, yeah, I mean, I could see Utah getting blown out in the game potentially. Money did kind of come in towards Utah. It looks like early Arizona down from 19.5 to 18.5. I struggle with this one. The total's high in the 160s. So, I mean, I don't know. Gun to my head, I guess I would probably lean to laying the points with Arizona with what these teams just did in their previous games, but I don't love it at all. I mean, it's not even close to a game I was considering. We have Rhode Island at George Mason in the A10. Rhode Island coming off a pretty ugly game against Loyola Chicago, who looks like they're down this year. Like I said, Rhode Island lost that game at home as a favorite, so you got to think they're going to bounce back from that, and they're going to focus playing a team like George Mason that's a one-loss team right now. Although George Mason's facing a pretty easy schedule, though. Not really as good as they look. But George Mason almost lost their last game, as I pointed out as well. LaSalle almost took them to the limit, so they should actually be in a bounce-back spot as well here. So another game that I just got to leave on the sidelines, man. But George Mason's up to a 7-point favorite. Total's in the 140s. It's a low total, though. And I don't know, man. With a low total, I don't know. I mean, I think George Mason, the fact that they played really poorly against LaSalle, I think that was the uglier performance out of the two. Because you could make the argument that, well, Loyola just has kind of that name recognition, so maybe that loss wasn't that bad for Rhode Island. So I guess I would lean towards laying it with George Mason, but you know, I certainly would not be pumped about it by any stretch. All right, now we're getting into some where you can kind of skip over some of these games. Although, again, if you want me to talk about any of these games, I can. LSU at Texas A&M at 4 p.m. SEC, it's on ESPNU, actually, but it's an SEC game. LSU coming into this after pounding Southern Miss. LSU's looked good so far. But they're not really that battle-tested, right? Like, the only good team they played so far was Texas Tech, and Texas Tech annihilated them, so I'm not sold on LSU. Actually, they beat SMU. That's a fine win, I guess, the win over SMU. I was overlooking that, but we'll see what they have to do when they have to go on the road at Texas A&M, and they played one road game at BC and won that game, but BC took them into overtime, so it wasn't exactly good for LSU. Going on the road to Texas A&M might be a little bit difficult here. A&M's been all right this year, but they're not totally battle-tested either. I mean, they actually lost to SMU. So people might look at that and see the common opponent and maybe think it's easy to play LSU here. So, oh my God, if LSU beat SMU, who beat Texas A&M, although it was in overtime, but it was also by 13, that it's going to look pretty easy to play LSU in this game, I think. So I would probably fade that sentiment. I mean, neither team is very battle-tested, so I'm not impressed by either resume. I don't think either team is as good as they look. What does Ken Baum have to say about it? He's got LSU 36th in the country, and he's got Texas A&M where 51st, so not a huge disparity there between the two. A&M, pretty balanced team at least. Somewhat low in the luck index, and they're a high-tempo team. LSU plays mid-tempo. They're higher in the luck index, so Ken Baum's saying they've overperformed a little bit, and they are the worst defense out of the two. So you're getting the slightly better defense very slightly with Texas A&M in this game. If you want Texas A&M in this one, Texas A&M is actually laying 5 points here, though, so that is a little bit odd. Like, there must be an injury or something on the LSU side because I don't really see. Like, obviously, the power ratings are not telling you that Texas A&M should be a 5-point favorite. I mean, Ken Baum has them 15 ranking spots lower or whatever, so there's got to be an injury or something that's the reason why A&M's laying 5. So even though I might like A&M at like one of the lower numbers, like when it was 2. I just don't know if there's really line value at all. I mean, I don't think there is. Laying it at 5, so you got to, I don't know. You got to stay away from it, I think. I mean, if you want to like money line parlay A&M with some other team, because I do kind of think they win the game, but I don't know. Totals in the 160s in that one. All right. I need to, I'm not doing well with my my lounging, man. South Alabama at Troy. This is an Alabama battle here. Both these teams are in Alabama. Of course, Troy won the Sun Belt last year, so I believe they did. So, you know, teams are going to have Troy circled. They're going to get up for Troy. South Alabama's coming off a really bad performance, only winning by 5 at Louisiana. That's a bad game. Louisiana's not a good team. Troy coming into this off a 100-point explosion against Texas State, scoring 100 points. So when a team scores 100 points like that, I kind of want to look to fade them in the next game. And Troy does have their, I believe it's the Sun Belt final rematch from last year in the next game against Arkansas State, although the game will mean more to Arkansas State because Arkansas State lost the game. But Troy still may overlook this and be looking ahead to Arkansas State. So I would lean towards fading Troy in this game. I would lean to South Alabama in this one. 7.5 is the number, so you're getting a decent amount of points with South Alabama. Total at 145, obviously not a high total, so we got to get cozy. I need the Clint Mind Comfy shirt. All right. Oh, man. I know I'm skipping some of these other small conference games. I mean, again, if you want me to talk about any of these other games, I will. But Colorado at Arizona State here, man, at 5 p.m. We're finally in the evening now here. Colorado, I mean, neither of these teams are really that good. So, like, what do we do with this game, man? Both teams are not as good as their record looks. Colorado's coming off that loss to Northern Colorado. And, of course, we faded Northern Colorado off of that game with success last night. Now, does Colorado bounce back from that? Maybe. I mean, that was an ugly spot because Colorado had that sandwiched in between Stanford and Arizona State, two big conference teams. Northern Colorado, you know they got up for that game against the big boy. So, Colorado's coming off an ugly game, man. They lost as a big favorite at home to an in-state little brother. They should show up for this game against Arizona State. Although for Colorado, they only played one other road game, and it was in Colorado at Colorado State, and they lost that game. So I don't like the fact that they haven't played any true road game outside of the state of Colorado so far. So that's not great for Colorado. For Arizona State here, they're coming off 2 straight losses, and they haven't played since before the break. So I think that's actually a positive for Arizona State because they went into the break losing to UCLA, and then they lost to Oregon State, who's not very good right now. But the fact that they had a break after that, I think will help bust that losing momentum. And I think they're going to show up here, even though they do have BYU next. Coming off of that break, you know, after losing a couple games in a row, started conference play at home, I don't think they're going to overlook Colorado, man. So for me, both teams are kind of in positive spots here, but there are some slight negatives for Colorado, so I'd probably lay it with Arizona State in this one. 3 points is the line. Total at 157. And it looks weird to be laying points, by the way, with Arizona State sitting at 9-4 against Colorado at 10-3. It almost looks easy to take the points with the team with the better record. So, all right. We got Minnesota at Northwestern on Big Ten Network. I know I'm talking about all the power conference teams here. Minnesota just beat Fairleigh Dickinson. Who cares? That's fairly irrelevant. Although it continued their momentum coming out of the break. Now, Minnesota has not been good on the road. They've played 2 games on the road, and they got blown out by Missouri and Purdue. Northwestern's not as good as those 2 teams, but still, they haven't been good on the road. I don't know that they're going to look ahead to Iowa. I mean, Iowa does loom on the horizon, though, so I don't know. But I don't think they're going to overlook Northwestern, but who knows. Northwestern, they have Michigan State next, so both teams could possibly be in a look ahead here. Northwestern coming off that game, they beat Howard, after the break. So they have a little bit of momentum coming into this. both teams are in very similar spots here. So for me, it kind of comes down to, I think I would probably lay it with Northwestern just because Minnesota's not good on the road. Northwestern's 5.5 here with juice, although 138.5 is the total, so it's not a high total. Don't love laying points when it's not a high total, but Northwestern being the slightly better team, that's probably what I would do there, is lay it. And again, that's only because I think the situation doesn't really help you. Help either team one way or the other. I'm not going to drink Kratom, man. That shit will fuck you up. Dahmer hours, yeah. I've heard some real Kratom horror stories, man. I don't want any of that. All right. What other games did I want to talk about? We have UCLA and Iowa. I mean, I'll talk about this. This is a Big Ten game on Peacock at 6 p.m. Iowa's ranked 25th in the country. Now, for UCLA, it's a little weird for UCLA because they haven't played since before the break. So UCLA's been off for a long time, since December 23rd, and they went into the break on a 3-game win streak, so that could break their momentum a little bit, man. So they might come into this game slow, although UCLA likes to play slow. I'm pretty sure both of these teams play slow. So it's probably going to be a low-scoring, slow-paced game here. UCLA, not really road tested so far. They only played on the road at Washington, and I believe UCLA has not left the Pacific time zone this season at all. So the fact that they're leaving the Pacific time zone and they're coming off of a maybe disadvantageous break, those are definitely some negatives on the side of UCLA here. Now for Iowa, I mean, they've been decently impressive, I guess. I mean, their 2 losses are to Michigan State and Iowa State, and they played both games fairly respectably, both on the road. They were really close against Iowa State, could have won that game. That was a win for us on the show with Iowa plus the points. Iowa did play already coming out of the break, and they easily beat UMass Lowell, so they have momentum coming into this, man. You know they're going to get up for a game against UCLA, although UCLA should get up for a ranked team. But yeah, you know, I mean, obviously teams will get up for UCLA because they're a, as I accidentally bring up the source here. Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously teams get up for UCLA because they're just a named team in college basketball, obviously. Iowa's dropped from a 7-point favorite to a 5.5-point favorite here. Total's low at 137, so I don't love the idea of laying points with a low total like that, but I think if I was going to play the game, I think I probably would lay the points with Iowa, but I don't love the idea of laying points, yeah, with a low total, with a slow-paced team like that. That does worry me a little bit. All right. What other games do I want to talk about? Northern Colorado, Montana. This is the game that I forgot to mention when I handicapped the Northern Colorado game. We got it right with Montana State, but I talked about it on my Instagram video about that game. Northern Colorado, man, I think they were especially looking ahead to Montana here because Montana is the team that eliminated Northern Colorado in the final, in the Big Sky final last year. So I think Northern Colorado absolutely has this game circled. And by the way, Montana State had been eliminated by Northern Colorado last year in the Big Sky tournament. So that made that an even bigger game for Montana State. So those were factors in that game as well. Made it even better to play Montana State in that game. Now, I think Northern Colorado probably bounces back here after they lost that game pretty ugly at Montana State. It was totally explainable. As we know, we explained how bad of a spot they were in. And Northern Colorado had upset Colorado the game before that. Huge win for them, so it was a great spot to fade them. I think they bounce back here and they try to get the revenge from losing the conference final last year to Montana. Montana coming off a win over Northern Arizona, whatever. It's not an impressive win or anything like that. Now, one issue I have with it is that Montana's a 7-7 team, and Northern Colorado's like 10-4. And the fact that Montana's laying 1 point, it's one of those like sketchy-looking lines, you know, where the public, if they see this, they're going to want to come in on Northern Colorado because, oh my God, the team with the better record getting a point here. It looks so easy to play Northern Colorado here. So something like that does make me pause, but given the situation, I think I have to slightly lean to Northern Colorado there, although Montana's probably not going to overlook the game either, though. So, and they flipped from a +1 dog to a -1 favorite there. All right. SEC, actually, we got Mississippi State and Texas. How many more games? Oh, we don't have many games left. Here we go, baby. Final stretch. It'll be a little bit over 2 hours here. Mississippi State and Texas, I mean, both these teams are a bit down right now, but especially Mississippi State. They're not very good this year, man. They're coming off beating Alabama State, so they'll continue their momentum here, but their resume is not great. They played pretty respectably against Iowa State, but other than that, I mean, I guess a lot of their losses are close. They have a close loss to New Mexico, close loss to SMU, close loss to San Francisco, where that was a play for us on the show, I believe, was San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, it's still not a very impressive resume, though. They haven't played really, I mean, the only other power conference teams they played were Kansas State and lost, and Georgia Tech and won that game barely. So lost in a blowout to Kansas State as well. So, yeah, not extremely battle tested here. They're having to go on the road now. Their only other road game was that win at Georgia Tech, but Texas is obviously better than Georgia Tech. Texas has been okay this year. They're coming off a break, though. So Texas went into the break on a 2-game win streak. So they're coming out of a break, so that break might hurt their momentum a little bit, and I worry about it, even though this is their SEC home opener. They do have Tennessee, Alabama, and Vandy as their next 3 opponents, so it is possibly a look-ahead spot, in addition to maybe having their momentum stopped by having a break. So I don't love the spot for Texas in this, although I think they're pretty clearly the better team, but where are they? What the hell? Maybe I'll look for Mississippi State instead. How about that? There they are. So Texas is a 9.5-point favorite, total at 157, mid-tier total there. You know, even though, yeah, Texas is clearly the better team, asking them to lay points in a situation like this, they play like mid-tempo. They're not very good defensively. They're much better offensively than defensively. I know Mississippi State is pretty bad this year. Ken Palm has got them at 83rd. They also play about the same tempo. They're a little bit better defensively than offensively for what it's worth, but I think Texas is kind of in the worst spot there, so I'd probably lean to taking the points with Mississippi State, but I'm going to stay away, yes. UCL gay, yes. A lot of gayness in L.A., yes. Zach, yes. Speaking of Bears, yes. Right, Northern Colorado are the Bears, and Montana are the Grizzlies, yes. The Bears and the Grizzly Bears. Okay. Illinois at Penn State here. Illinois is ranked 20th in the country, but Ken Palm has them ranked 8th. So this Illinois team, I think they're for real. Their ranking is slipped because they haven't looked as good recently, but they're definitely good, man. They're probably better this year than they were last year. I mean, look at their losses. I mean, I don't know. They lost to UConn. I mean, of course, that's acceptable. And they lost by 4 to Alabama. That's fine. They have wins over Tennessee, Texas Tech, on the road at Ohio State. Those are pretty fine wins. They beat Missouri and absolutely destroyed them. That's a pretty good win as well. And then, yes, of course, they did have that loss, which was a loss for me on the show, where I don't know what happened in that game. They lost to Nebraska as a huge favorite Illinois was. So, yeah, I mean, Illinois, I think believe it or not, I think Illinois might be a little bit under the radar here and undervalued. They're coming off a win over Southern coming out of the break. So they have momentum coming out of they played that game after the break, so that's good. They're going out on the road. They're not going to be intimidated, I don't think, by being on the road against Penn State. They did win at Ohio State already. They got really nothing up on deck with Rutgers. So I think Illinois will be focused here. And I think Penn State at 9-4. I'm not sold on Penn State, man. They had that one step-up game against Michigan State that we got right on the show, but it was a bad spot for Michigan State. And other than that, Penn State really has been unimpressive, man. They lost to Providence. They lost horribly to Indiana, and Indiana's okay. And they also lost horribly to Pittsburgh. So that Michigan State game is looking like more of an outlier. Like, this Penn State resume is really quite bad. And yes, they did bounce back with a nice win out of the break against NC Central, who's not good at all. But if I was going to play this game, I think I would have to lay it, even though you're laying a huge price with Illinois on the road. I'm not sure that it's big enough, to be honest. They're laying 16.5 on the road. The total's at 155.5. I think I would lay it if I was going to play that game. For all those reasons I just stated. We got some Mountain West action. I haven't really talked about. Don't think I've talked about any of the Mountain West yet. Nevada is at Fresno State. For Nevada, they're playing pretty well right now, but I'm not sure that I buy it for Nevada. They're okay, but they just beat Colorado State on the road after beating Boise State. Those are some nice wins. They actually beat Boise State before the break. And they came out of the break, and the break didn't hurt their momentum, and they beat Colorado State on the road. Colorado State's probably a bit down this year from what they did last year, but good win for Nevada. And now they go on the road to Fresno, and they might not really pay attention to Fresno. And up next, they got San Diego State. Even though San Diego State might not be quite as good this year, they're still they are like one of the teams that you always pretty much circle your games against them in the Mountain West. So this is kind of sandwich looking to me for Nevada here. I don't know that they're really going to focus much on a below 500 Fresno team. Fresno's lost 4 games in a row. They came out of the break and they lost at home to Utah State. No shame in that. Utah State's the best team in the Mountain West. Now, when I see something like that, I have to see how close was this game. And it wasn't that close. So the Fresno was within like 3 possessions and a couple points late in the game. So yeah, they are coming off a tough game, but they are staying at home. They are still looking for their first conference win. I think the spot's worse for Nevada. I would go Fresno State in this one. Nevada's a 7-point favorite. It looks like you might not be able to get the 7 much longer. It's a little bit of a key number in basketball, as I say, and the total is pretty low at 148.5. So I would take it with Fresno if I was going to play it. We do have on Fox at 8 p.m. number 5 Purdue at Wisconsin. Wisconsin's been struggling a lot. Purdue is good. We know this. Purdue is a top several team. I don't think they're quite the 5th best team. Ken Bum has them 4th. So what am I saying? Purdue was one of my picks preseason, as you remember, because they had all these guys returning. Very, very veteran guard play from Purdue. So Purdue is that good. But looking at this line, the line looks pretty low, man. Like, it looks so easy to lay the points with Purdue. It's coming down from the key number 7 to 6.5 with a total of 151.5 here. It looks really, really easy, right, to lay almost below the key number 7 now with the number 5 ranked team in the country, Purdue, against an unranked Wisconsin team that's been really, really struggling. Looks kind of crazy. Where does Ken Bum have Wisconsin at? I mean, he has them 43rd, so they're like, it's not like they're playing that well. So I don't know. I mean, this line does look way too easy to play Purdue, though, man. For Purdue, they've been fine on the road so far. They had that win at Alabama, which is a win for me here on the show as well, on the road. They have a good home win, or I don't know if it was home or neutral, I forget, against Texas Tech. And then they had that one weird home blowout loss to Iowa State. And then they did beat Marquette, Minnesota. I mean, those teams aren't very good right now. And then Auburn. That's a decent win against Auburn. So, yeah, Purdue, I mean, they're good. They're decently battle-tested. They're coming off crushing Kent State. And Kent State is one of the better teams in the MAC, probably, beating them by 41 points. Now they're going back out on the road. They did beat Rutgers on the road as well. I forgot to mention that. So Purdue, is 2-0 on the road. That's not that bad, but I don't know, man. I mean, to me, it's just the line looks way too short. And I think Wisconsin might be better than they look. They're coming off a win over Milwaukee the other day, whatever. I just think that continues their momentum into this game. I mean, I think I would probably take the points in this one just because it looks way too easy to play Purdue. And take, if you can get 7, obviously that's better. But, of course, I don't actually want to deal with it. Don't actually want to play the game. All right. And then we have number 22, Florida at Missouri in the SEC at 8:30 p.m. here. And I do still have one more play, by the way, that I haven't gotten to yet. So you guys are getting one of the plays very late here. It's a late night game. And it's late in the show. So worth the wait, hopefully. I think it's the weakest of my 3 plays, though, but hopefully it's a winner. Florida, they played after the break. They beat Dartmouth, whatever. Now they're going on the road to face Missouri. I believe Florida beat Missouri on the road last year and lost to them at home, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if that really matters a whole lot. Florida, they're definitely battle-tested this year, though, man. It's like Florida's got 4 losses, but look at their losses. They lost by 4 to UConn, 1 at Duke, 4 against TCU. TCU's all right, and then 6 to Arizona. So, yeah, they don't really have any great wins. That's true. Their best wins are, I guess, Miami and, I don't know, Providence is not that great of a win, so I guess it's the Miami wins. Yes, I know they don't have any signature wins yet, but they played well in all of their losses, and they were to all really good teams. Like Duke, except for TCU, Duke, UConn, and Arizona are all legitimate, like top several teams. So I think Florida is a little bit better than they look. Now, they do have Georgia and Tennessee on deck, though, and they might overlook Missouri looking ahead to those 2 teams because Missouri, I don't know. I mean, to me, I think Missouri just doesn't really grab many people's attention. Now, Missouri hasn't played since before the break, but the way they went into the break was horrible. They lost 91-48 to Illinois. That is awful. So I think the spot is better for Missouri here because they're going to be rested, and going into the break on a horrible note like that, you got to think they're going to fix some things coming out of the break. Now, I know their resume is not very impressive. They lost to Notre Dame on the road. They lost to Kansas. Kansas is good, and they lost horribly to Illinois. I get it. They haven't stepped up in class. Well, Florida is easily the more battle-tested team, I know. But I don't know. To me, the spot is just a little bit better for Missouri, and it looks too easy to lay the points. I think I would lean to Missouri in this one, plus the 6.5. But I'm going to stay away. Definitely not Florida by 100. Even though I know Missouri, again, they're not great. I know. And Florida is better than they look. Ken Baum has Missouri at 65th, which is not great. And they don't play great defense, I know. And they're one of the weakest schedules, and they're high up in the luck index. So I know I don't like any of that. Florida is one of the unluckiest teams and has faced one of the strongest schedules, I know. Both teams are probably going to play fast in this one. Yeah, I mean, if you like Missouri, it's really all about the schedule here. But I think there might be some room to go over this total at 154.5 because I think Missouri still plays fast, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, they don't now. I am mistaken. They're at 208th in tempo. My mistake. But I was thinking of like last year. These 2 teams are both fast-paced. Florida still is. All right. Last play, here we go. And then there's one more game I think I'm going to talk about after that. So we're right around the 2-hour mark here. Yeah, they suck, but that's factored into the line. Tell me why is the line only 6.5 then? I don't know. The odds makers are telling you something with that line. This team sucks is not a handicapping argument or strategy. Yes, we know that, and it's factored into the line. So, I mean, yeah, that game, I mean, again, it looks like the odds makers are just begging you to play Florida in that game. Although, again, I know Florida does have an uglier record, and they are clearly the more battle-tested team, so I worry about all that. So, yeah, it would not shock me if Florida won that game and covered, obviously. Obviously, this is why it's not on my card, because I don't have a strong feeling on that game. But the situation to me does seem like it's quite positive for Missouri. All right. Yeah, penis COVID. No, Florida does have some problems, man. I'm not going to lie. Xavier and Lee, that weird tandem where they brought him and Boogie Flan both over, they don't seem to mesh very well. So I don't know. There are some issues that Florida has. All right, my last play is Long Beach State, -1. And I know I usually say when you have a -1, -1.5, -2 favorite in college basketball, you want to actually go to the money line. But in this case, the money line, the best I saw was -135. I'm like, what the heck? When you have a -1 favorite, usually you can find -120 or maybe even better. But -135, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. -1 is fine if you're being charged extra. Because the reason why the professionals tell you to money line it on these college basketball favorites of 1, 1.5, and 2 is because you usually can get a money line price that's better EV, but at minus 135 for a minus 1 favorite, it's not. So Long Beach State minus 1 is the play, although if you see worse numbers than that out there and a better money line is fine as well. Now, the crux of this handicap is that we're going to fade Cal Poly here. Cal Poly just beat UC San Diego, man. They came out of the break, broke a 4-game loss streak, and they beat the team that's the best team in the conference, the Big West, the team that won the conference last year. Monster win for Cal Poly. I think UC San Diego might have been the team that knocked them out of the conference tournament last year as well. So huge win for Cal Poly. Now they have a turnaround in 2 days from that, like 2 days, only 1 day removed basically from that, because that was on Thursday, and they got to play at Long Beach, who is way down. And Long Beach was horrible last year. Long Beach didn't even make the conference tournament last year. And by the way, Cal Poly beat Long Beach both times last year. So whatever weight you want to put into that, I wouldn't put too much weight into that, but it is double revenge technically for Long Beach State because they lost both games to Cal Poly last year. And speaking of double revenge, Cal Poly plays Cal State Northridge next, who's a little bit of a better team. And Northridge beat Cal Poly both times they played them last year. So they might have that game more circled than this game. So there is definitely an argument that's a bit of a sandwich spot here, man. So I like Long Beach in this one, even though they're not great. But Long Beach, they're coming off a win where they came out of the break. They beat Lincoln University, California, whatever, stomped them. That'll be good just to carry the momentum into this one. I don't think they're going to overlook Cal Poly, even with UC Irvine on deck. I think Long Beach is going to be looking to get a win. Prior to that game, they lost 4 out of 5, and they lost to UC San Diego, by the way. So the public might look at this and think, what is going on here with this line where Long Beach has the worst record? They already have double-digit losses, and they're a favorite here. And they lost to UC San Diego, who Cal Poly just beat. So you're getting a point with Cal Poly. It looks so easy to play Cal Poly here. But I'm saying you should not do that. Now, as far as what KenPom looks like for these teams, I actually like what I see here, too, because Cal Poly, I mean, they play extremely fast. That's what they did last year, too. They're 4th in tempo. And, I think that when teams do that, the wheels kind of come off at some point. Cal Poly is actually not even good defensively or offensively. They're actually slightly better defensively, believe it or not, but they're really bad in both. KenPom has them at 229th, so he doesn't even have them that much higher than Long Beach. He has Long Beach at 251st overall. Cal Poly, yeah, they face a decent schedule, 83rd, but Long Beach 62nd. So Long Beach has actually faced a slightly more difficult schedule. And he's got Cal Poly really high in the luck index at 75th. So they've overperformed, whereas Long Beach State has underperformed at 246th in KenPom's luck index. So they're a team that you do want to play on based on the luck index. At Cal Poly, you want to tend to fade, you want to try to fade them based on the luck index here. And the other thing is, yeah, Cal Poly plays ridiculously fast. Well, yeah, Long Beach State plays slow at 206th in tempo. So I think Long Beach might be able to slow this thing way down, man, and get this thing done, ugly it up, frustrate Cal Poly by slowing it way down. We're going to Long Beach, man, at the Walter Pyramid. If you've never seen it, they literally play in a pyramid. And it's kind of ridiculous looking. It's like they play in a Bass Pro Shops, actually. Hold on, I'll find it for you real quick. I'll show you what it looks like. If you guys are unfamiliar with the Walter Pyramid, it's ridiculous. Hold on, I'm going to bring up a picture of it. Yeah, and the inside of it, like the roof is like pyramided as well. Hold on, I'm going to bring this up. Let me bring it into my other window here, if I can. Here it is, if you guys can see this. I know it's on Reddit or whatever. This is the outside of the pyramid, and this is the inside of it here. That's where Long Beach plays, man. It's a very unique venue. Zooming in, it's not great quality, but yeah, it must be so weird, like driving along, you're close to the beach, and then like, what the hell is this? A Bass Pro Shops over here? What? It's obviously, it's all Illuminati stuff, though. It's all masonry. So we're going with the Masons here. They're rigging the game for them in this one, So we're going with Long Beach in that game at the Walter Pyramid. And as far as the line is concerned, there's not a whole lot going on with the market yet that we can see. They're already up from 1.5 to 2, by the way. So it looks like it's one where there's probably going to be market agreement with me on this one. The total's at 163. So odds makers are kind of throwing it. I don't like that they're throwing it at a little bit of a high number, thinking that Cal Poly is going to really kind of speed this thing up a bit. I do worry about that a little bit, but it looks like the number is going in the Long Beach direction. So you got to get on that, I would say, if you want it. And maybe you do have to go money line on that. Illuminati Beach State, yes. Correct. All right. And then I was going to talk about, there's one more game that's a really good game in the Mountain West, which is Boise State and San Diego State. CBS Sports, one of the bailout degenerate specials at the end of the night here. This is a good game, man. Two of the stronger teams in the Mountain West. Boise is coming up beating New Mexico. That's a nice win for Boise. They bounced back off of that loss at Nevada, which was kind of explainable. I think I leaned to Nevada on that one because Boise had beaten St. Mary's the game before that. Nice win. New Mexico on deck, they might have paid more attention to. Now, Boise got that win over New Mexico. Boise was able to frustrate them, slow it down at home. Now, Boise's got to go on the road to face San Diego State, although I think San Diego State also plays slow like Boise does. San Diego State's a little bit more mid-tempo this year, but they're still a better defensive team than offensive team. San Diego State, the slightly better team in Ken Palm's rankings, 2 ranking spots higher. Boise is more imbalanced. Boise is the better defense, although not considerably so, and they do have a worse offense. So both teams focus more on defense. I still think it's going to be more of a defensive kind of slugfest, a slow game, Oh, slugfest, by the way, I forgot.
True Blood and Joseph. That's a very physical. I love watching plays like that. I know you like all those bubble screens and 300.
That's right. That's right.
I
John.
love to see big bodies bang.
I told you I was going to find the Gruden clip. I love to see big bodies bang. There you go. I talked about it this morning. I'm not letting you down. I got the drop. Anyway, that might be what's happening in this game. Big bodies banging. 2 teams that like to play defense and play physical. It's at San Diego State. San Diego State maybe a little bit under the radar right now, man, just because they've been down more so than Boise State has the last couple of years. So I guess San Diego State made the tournament last year, and Boise didn't. But San Diego State got wrecked in the play-in against so technically they made the tournament, but they didn't win the play-in. They got wrecked by North Carolina. Now, San Diego State just played San Jose State. It was a much easier game for San Diego State in their last game. So Boise might be a little bit more tired here, coming off those bigger games that they've had to play. So I think the spot does set up better for San Diego State in this one. That is the way that I would lean. They're up from 3 to 3.5. You're having to lay points with a low total, like I said, 137.5. Big bodies banging. I wouldn't really disagree with an under in this game. I mean, again, it's a total that's way low for a reason. I think you're going to see defensive physicality here. Although Boise, you do have to worry a little bit about the fatigue factor with Boise as far as how intense their defense is going to be off of the New Mexico game. So, but I still think the under is probably worth considering. But then I also lean to San Diego State minus the points, and that is it. That's going to do it, baby. Over 2 hours. Long college basketball, late night shows, man, degeneracy. And I'll be back in like 5 or 6 hours to talk about with the other games that are going on. But it'll be a much easier show for me in the morning because it'll just be, I know we'll have a good amount of NHL because it's Saturday. I don't know if there's any college football, even though we're in bowl season. There's got to be something, right? There's definitely, maybe not because there's NFL tomorrow. Although I know they overlapped, I think, last Saturday, so we will see. And there's probably some amount of NBA, but we'll figure it out. That's going to do it. My plays one more time are lay the points with Wake Forest. 5.5 is what I saw out there. Take the points with BC. 6.5, Boston College. And then Long Beach, I said 1, but it's at 2 right now. If you find a good money line price, money line, also is actually probably preferable. If you find a money line that's the fact that it's up to -2 now, if you can money line it like -130, I think that also makes sense. I'm being selective, man. Let's hope we get it. Let's hope we get a win. Another winning day here. Let's do it. I'll be back in the morning. I appreciate it, guys. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Thanks for the 400 subscribers, by the way, here. Let's get some more subscribers on Twitter as well. I got to start doing subscriber content over there, I know. But let's get more subscribers here. Monetize this thing on YouTube. Toad Stool Sports. Give me likes. Give me subscriptions here, Do all the things. Give me replies, comments, whatever. It helps me out. The audio on Spotify and Apple, that helps me out as well. Review. Give me a good review and listen over there. Covered in Uke is my Uke channel, so you can check that out as well. And, of course, subscribe to stuff there as well. Patreon.com/LearnToToad. You can get some bonus Uke content there. And we have the Loser Cast, my comedy panel podcast. We did 2 episodes of it this week. Me, Leighton, Tyler Yonke, part of the panel. Adam Nutter, if he ever shows up. And then Broseph Smith and this guy Eldon, who just lives in Leighton's room, I think. I don't know. It's a weird mix of characters, but we try to make something work out of it. So you can check that out as well. And I believe that is it for now. That's going to do it. I will be on Jules Graypill's show Sunday night. Even though I plan on starting to do some bracketology stuff on this channel as well, just because I'm obsessed with it. So I don't know. We'll see. But that'll be Sunday night. I'm on Graypilled with Jules. And then I still forget the name of the show that I'm going to be on Wednesday, but I tweeted it out, so we'll figure it out. That's going to do it. I appreciate it, guys. Late night, you're sticking with me. Peace. Until tomorrow morning.